What's up? What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke. What
What's
it
good,
do,
bro?
baby? What it do, man? We out here on our virtual tip today, trying out a little new technology, man, having a little fun with it. But I'm feeling good. How my dog feeling over there, though, man?
Good, bro. It's a good experiment. The roads are pretty bad here in Pittsburgh, huh?
No, yeah, the roads are,
They
are
weren't
really,
lying.
the roads are really bad here in Pittsburgh, man. That was the funny part, right? We always hear the weatherman talking about, oh, it's gonna snow. Oh, the road's gonna be icy. And we over here, oh man, weatherman always wrong. Never right. Even last week, remember he was supposed to, well, man, we might have to cancel the show, bro. Man, the day though, now it's for real. Them roads are bad. Bad, 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 bad. So,
How's it
playing it
popping
safe.
on a Friday, though? How was last night? How was hoops?
Hey man, yeah, shoot, hold on. No. Hoops was on Wednesday.
Damn.
Yeah. So
How was it Wednesday then?
well, shoot, man. For Wednesday, it was dope too, though, man. In the sense that let's see, what did we have? Oh, she scored again. Actually, she scored the first bucket too, bro. Shoot, man. She had a little post up action. I was like, all right,
Okay.
you know what I mean? She was here. We was here. We like, all right, is she fitting to pass this ball, or is she gonna dribble in the same spot for like 10 minutes, right? So she uh, uh, switch back to the left, go back to the right, and then she turned around and just shot it, and it went in nothing but net. All of us looked over here like, bro, what just happened? Did we just watch this? We ain't had no phones out. We was all hot, like, dang. But then after that, we had the phones for everything, and of course, she ain't hit nothing else.
You were bummed you missed the first bucket.
Yes, bro.
That's what it was.
Yes. So you know how that goes, man. But either way, it was still fun. Baby girl had a blast, and yeah, all is well. So, with that being said, how we always start our shows, we go get it popping today. So, let us know where you are tuning in from, and we will give you that big boy shout out. Let's go.
People are amped up in the chat here.
I see, man. Hey, it's a different look, it's a different vibe, but this is what you got to do at times, man. Because the
We got some good
show,
comments here.
what they say, the show must go on. The show must go on.
COVID Classic, they're calling this one. The COVID Classic pod. That's from Black Lavender.
Hey, let's go.
Rishon Jones says Deke's green screen is going to kill me.
He is at Heinz Field. That is not a green screen, ladies and gentlemen. Deke is actually at Art Rooney spot right now, man. It was that Champions Club you in?
Where is this? This is like section 500. This is the nosebleeds, I think.
You're at the Rotunda then. There we go.
Yeah, maybe. We got some people checking in though. I'll read them off.
Yeah, let's go.
Najee Loudpack tuning in from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They're always in the house.
Absolutely.
Reed Mitchell, Warren, Ohio, 330 in the house. Juicebox 32 checking in from 720, a mile high.
Let's get it. I like it.
We got Artorius Barnes, 252 NC on Mars, chilling with Deke and Moats.
Let's go. It's a great day to be on Mars. It's a Friday. It's cold as heck outside. I mean, why not, right? Why not?
Gus Escobar, good morning, tuning in from Toronto.
Let's
Stoogie
go.
McLean, checking in from the 203 Connecticut. He says, I still don't trust Moats after his lies the other day. Mutiny?
I would never lie. Listen, I understand that people were really excited about my Bills shirt. I get it. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew, because if I was the only one, then they would say, oh, man, he ain't got no other Bills fans on the podcast. And it's like, no, we actually do. Stoogie's one of them, man. So trust me. That's why I wanted to shout you out like that. I understand. That's why I had to do it, though, okay? I'll keep your secret next time, though, from the heart.
Jason Hess, tuning in from State College, saying his classes got canceled today.
Hey, shout out. No school. Shoot,
that's
man.
Deserving.
Classes got...
I mean, that's probably terrible up there. That's
dude,
terrible.
I can only imagine. And when you talk about on campus, you got to walk through these classes. Oh,
campus
that's a nightmare, bro. That's a nightmare.
Nick Y, I'll do a few more. 918 Tulsa, Oklahoma. It says working and dabbing. Ooh. It's 11 outside and 5 inches of snow.
I like it.
Even though this new format's a little unfamiliar for us, we got a familiar comment. Trina Steele gave a 5. Good morning, Deke and Moats. Lower/family room and upper room. Whoa. Now she's taking on the lower room and throwing in a family room.
Yo, what do we have going on here? So I'm aware of the lower room. I'm aware of the upper room. Where's this family room? We got a family room too. Hey, y'all put your feet over there on the family room kitchen. Hey, Get your feet off the coffee table in the family room, though, okay? We don't do that. We don't play that around here.
Stone Mountain, Georgia, Trenton, New Jersey, and Honolulu, Hawaii.
There she
I'll
is.
do 2 more. Felicia Bellard,
is.
337, Lake Charles, Louisiana, and then $7 Roethlisberger, 412, Pittsburgh, baby.
Shout out to $7 Roethlisberger in the building, man. Always love that name right there. Like, we got a couple
super chats before we get into the first topic. I'll read
Let's do it. Let's do it.
And it's done. Says, do you guys think we can take a quarterback first round while still properly addressing the O-line?
Whew. That is a deep question right there. In a sense, I do. Just because with offensive linemen, you can obviously go the free agency route. Even if you don't get a guy in the first, I do feel like you would have to go second and third round, though, definitely addressing that offensive line if you don't go O-line in the first round. But you can make it work like that, though, in all honesty. But
that's what I was thinking. Maybe you just address literally every position outside of quarterback in free agency. I mean, you'd have to kill it, though. I mean, this can't be
that's the thing,
shitty haphazard. You're getting guys we don't want.
You can't have any Melvin Ingram situations. It can't be a guy comes in and he doesn't fit. You need this person. You need these people to be bought all the way in if you go that route. And like you said, you got to hit. You can't have any bad signings, man. But it can work, though. It definitely can be done.
Let's go, UW. Sup, Moats and Deke from Mobile, Alabama.
What it do?
He's down at the Senior Bowl, I guess. Did either of you watch the Shriner Bowl last night? No, I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah,
EJ Perry balled out second half, sleeper quarterback for us.
Yeah, so the Shrine Bowl, I did not watch it live. I actually plan to go back and check it out later today. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I was heavy on Senior Bowl tape, man, looking at these quarterbacks. Yeah, a lot of fun.
What the hell's the Shriner Bowl? Is that like the NIT for the Senior Bowl?
No, it's the East-West Bowl. East-West Shrine Bowl. They just call it because it's off of the Shriners. So they call it like the Shriner thing. But that's like always been the number 2 Senior Bowl type game and everything like that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's playing second fiddle.
Yeah.
He's saying sleeper pick then EJ Perry. I guess that's another guy we got to look for.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say too, man. I forgot the names, but I think it was like 3 or 4 people from the chat. I know Farron Bradford was one of them as well. That sent me over names of draft prospects that they want us to talk about, check out, and stuff like that. So definitely keep doing that. I'll keep telling you it's at moatswinners@gmail.com. Best way to communicate or get information to me like that. So yeah, we'll make sure that we'll start adding some of those prospects in that you guys have been sending us to talk about starting next week. You know, obviously, because there was a lot of names on those lists y'all gave us. But yeah, after we go through and check it out and everything like that, we'll definitely start talking about multiple prospects as we go forward throughout this offseason and stuff like that, man. But with that being said, man, we had some Steelers stuff, man, going on, right? Obviously, JuJu Smith-Schuster, I believe this would have been on Wednesday. It was either a Tuesday or Wednesday time frame. He was at an event in Dallas for 7-Eleven, actually, at the Cowboys Stadium. And he got to talking, ladies and gentlemen. He got to talking. So if you have the quotes up, Deke, man, I'll let you take over right here, man, and, lay the ground floor for these comments. And after that, man, we'll react and, see what the temperature is on the situation here.
Okay. This was on Twitter. This was from a blue checkmark guy, Michael
Elkin. I like how we got to identify him like that. A blue checkmark guy. Not just any guy. It's a blue checkmark.
I don't think he's lying. That's all. His profile pic, he's in a shirt and a tie. I don't think he's making this up. Although we can't find the video. We can't find the video of this. Am I wrong?
I know. I don't, but they probably won't have the video just yet, though, depending on 7-Eleven, the commercial and stuff.
Dude, I went on YouTube, though.
Did you see the commercial?
Is that interview? They have a little interview. It's just with Dak, though. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. JuJu says something. But I think he was talking about Tom Brady's retirement. I don't remember him saying anything like this.
Okay.
So this could just be hearsay. Anyway, JuJu says at a 7-Eleven event, he's most likely headed for free agency. On Dak Prescott, he's a great quarterback. Catching balls from him in a facility like this, I wouldn't mind it. The Steelers are still working on trying to get out of the wooden locker rooms. And then he does add, this was another tweet I saw, that he hopes the Steelers hear what he just said.
Yes.
But that's all I know. I don't know if there's anything else to add to that.
No, man. You hit it good right there, man. Biggest thing, man, for me, man, I thought it was funny. obviously, you have to worry about the tampering stuff, and that was what Dak was talking about as well. But in terms of JuJu leaning more towards testing the free agency market, this is just new information. That's all. In the sense of when we first talked about JuJu earlier this offseason, if, hey, would you re-sign him? Would you not re-sign him? That conversation we had, we also didn't know what his mindset was in terms of would he be looking to come back and stay, or would he be looking to see what the open market has for him and to see could he get more money out there. So with this, it just seems that, all right, at least we know, or at least we're starting to lean more towards he's going to at least want to test his market, which gives you some more information, though, in terms of you can't necessarily 100% bank on him being a lock to re-sign here anymore. That's also the part for me that I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he tested out his market last year. Why wouldn't he do it again this year?
Yeah.
He was almost going to sign with the Chiefs. He was almost going to sign with the Ravens. Just decided to come back to Pittsburgh. Got that final call from Ben. Heard that he was coming back. This was
7 hit him up.
Maybe looking back now, maybe Ben did say to JuJu, this could be my last season. At the time, I don't know. I don't know if you would have sold me on that.
And didn't JuJu, I can't remember if JuJu hinted to something like that. He might have hinted to something like that.
He might have. He might have at some point. I didn't want to hear it, though. But there were some rumors that were coming out a couple weeks ago that he was interested in the Chiefs. I'm like, okay, that's no surprise there.
Yeah.
We talked about what the Steelers should probably pay him, and if that's going to be $4 or $5 million, just based off his name alone and his brand.
Yeah.
I mean, and he has had some production in was that last year, his fourth season?
Fifth season, yeah.
In the NFL. Was it? Whatever. In his little short stint in the NFL thus far, he has been productive, even outside of AB. He had over 800 yards. Like, that's good for
it's
a receiver.
good,
not
he's
a Pro
Bowl
receiver, not a wide receiver one, but to get something in free agency, I think he can get more than $4 or $5 million somewhere else.
Yeah, I definitely think that he will get compensated because he, like you say, he's a good player. He's just not a bona fide number one, and you're just questioning in terms of the style of him as a number two or a slot receiver, and that really dictates the market for him. But if you're JuJu, you also have to think about your off-field market as well, because you might sign somewhere for a little bit less, but if the brand is big for that team, not even saying that he would go to Dallas, but just an example given could be a Dallas or a LA, right? For a Rams, Chargers situation where you have a big market where he could still thrive off-field as well, like he's done here in Pittsburgh. I also think that that's something, that could come into play with his decision as well, man.
I just looked at an ESPN article yesterday too, where they did a simulation. And I was looking at some of the numbers they were throwing around, and I'm like, holy hell.
Yeah, bro.
Like, I feel like some of these numbers are really inflated.
Yeah, what were you saying?
But I also saw another article for receivers. They had like Mike Williams getting in the teens per year. I'm like, man, this is a lot.
That's high.
That's what I mean. Devontae Adams, I think. I don't know if this was ESPN or not, but I remember seeing a projected contract for him was like $23 million. Like, that even feels like a lot for Devontae.
That's almost quarter. That's
really
like low end quarterback money, like bad quarterback 23. Sheesh.
I know.
But when you think about what edge rushers are getting, I mean, those guys are getting up 20 plus. So yeah, think Joey Bosa, Miles Garrett, and TJ are all flirting around 30.
Yeah, they're close.
So it's like, man, if you're Devontae, I mean, when we talk about the key positions, we say, you got to have a quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver, corner. So wide receiver, you got to have that person because they score the points for you. And that's up there though, man. That is a lot for just one player like that, man.
I'll be straight up. JuJu talking about the Cowboys getting passes from Dak Prescott. That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't re-sign Michael Gallup.
Well, yeah, because they have
like that third guy, and he could fit right in with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. He's a contrast to both of their playing styles.
Well, I'm interested to see what happens with Amari Cooper in that situation down there, because him and Jerry Jones, they're having a little bit of difference of opinions right now, because Jerry thinks that he needs more productivity for the contract that he's on. Obviously, Amari, he's not trying to give any of that money back, so that's gonna be interesting to see just what they either get reworked out or whatever down there. But it's interesting. But I don't think JuJu ends up there though. For me personally, I mean, it would make sense though, branding wise, but money wise, I just think he would be on the lower end there whereas some other teams that you could
Oh
go
yeah,
to
they're
that are a little
probably
bit more
cash
wide
strapped right
receiver
now
needy.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like if he goes to Dallas, that's definitely one of those. I'm thinking about my brand, so I'll take maybe $1 million or $2 million less than what I could get on the open market. But because I know I'm gonna be in Dallas, I know I'm gonna have this platform, all these eyes on me. I can make it up. I can double it, in off-field ventures and stuff like that.
Any takes on the wooden locker rooms comment?
Hey man, listen. As I said in the little video yesterday, no slander on those wooden lockers, man. Those wooden lockers have had great memories. We've had a lot of great moments in those wooden lockers. I was here before the wooden lockers even had outlets. So as you can see, I'm very happy about the outlets that are now in these wooden lockers. We even got a USB port. Yes, ballin', baby, ballin'. It is what it is. With Pittsburgh, man, they have historically, I know since I've been here, they've been, the team, the organization that doesn't care about amenities. They don't care about, keeping up with the Joneses, and not even in the sense of, Jerry Jones, but in the sense of NFL wide, right? A lot of teams have started to upgrade their facilities because they're realizing that even through free agency, it's not always about the dollar amount. Guys got to actually want to live there. They got to actually want to show up to work every day. They got to actually want to feel like they have all the resources available to them. And for the longest time, the Steelers, they could overcome that because it was just simply our brand of football sells itself. We win championships. We have deep playoff runs. And that for a while was the big driving force. I know for me, I didn't care about leaving Buffalo where they had just renovated and upgraded everything there to this like state-of-the-art facility. It was like, man, these guys down here play football. I didn't care that even in training camp in Buffalo or Arizona and other places, you have suites for your families. You have these different amenities allotted to your players and stuff like that. Whereas in Pittsburgh, it's like, nah, man, family, friends, I don't care. All y'all standing right there on the sideline, no seats, in the mud. And you're like, dang. But because the brand of football was so good, it didn't matter. Whereas now, as this thing starts to get further away from that, we're talking about, man, last time we had a championship appearance, last time we had an AFC championship game appearance, last time we won a Super Bowl, things like that. The further you get away, yeah, things like that do come up a little bit more, in terms of, all right, well, if the football part isn't great, well, what else can you give to me, Like, that's the other part of it. But at the end of the day, man, as long as the Steelers get back to winning the way they're supposed to be winning, none of that really will matter.
Yeah, not trying to be an idiot here. What's the alternative to wooden locker rooms then? What is it? The like the cage style?
Yeah, you have the
Is that what
cage
it is?
style. You have cage style. You just have more modern like materials. You know what I mean? It's almost in the sense of like you see an old school brick house. It's like, oh man, well, what could you use outside of brick? Well, it's like, yeah, you got other alternatives, but brick is like that was the classic feel for so long. So it's like it's cool. It serves a purpose, but at the same time, when you go see, a new house with like stucco on the outside or different type of siding and paneling and stuff, you're like, you know what? I think I like that house a little bit better. That's the only thing, man. But
I honestly kind of want to check it out right now because I have no clue what even to compare it to. So hold on, let me look up Dallas Cowboy locker room.
Yeah, and you have to remember also for the Steelers, the locker rooms that he's talking about and that I'm talking about are at the practice facility because at Heinz Field you're only over there once a week for the actual game. So yeah, look at the practice facility ones. But I don't even know if they would have pictures of them. They should, but I mean, if you go on any of the player social media and stuff like that, any videos that they post from inside the locker room, yeah.
That new Dallas Cowboy facility. Is that the one you're talking about then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not the one at the stadium?
No. It was at their practice facility.
Yeah, it says facility in the caption. So it looks pretty nice. It doesn't look bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being straight up. It almost looks like there's wood on them or next to them. I don't know.
Nah.
I don't know if it's a faux wood or whatnot, but that's something I just wouldn't really think of mattering that much, to be honest with you.
Well, you have to think about this. If your workspace every single day was a desk and your desk had a uncomfortable chair and your desk had plastic instead of authentic wood on the top and it would peel at the edges of it, if it had an odor with it, you would have an issue if you showed up to that every single day, correct? So your locker is essentially your work desk. It's essentially your workspace. So the same way we come in here and we record, the same way you get in a car. Imagine if something in there was just not to the varsity standard, you're going to take a little bit more exception to it because you deal with it every day. Whereas a person that doesn't deal with it every day, you minimize it. It's like, oh, it ain't that serious. But for the people that got to deal with it every day, it's like, yeah, which is why JuJu brought it up.
Now, what's the thing with the lockers? Is space a
No,
more
it's more.
important
It's
factor?
no, no,
I would
no.
think
It's more
space is
so.
the most important factor.
No,
I mean, do you
it's
sit at your locker
it's an
too, right?
amenity thing. Yeah, it's an amenity thing though. You think about this. A hotel room is the same, right? Whether it's a Motel 6 or you're staying at the Fountain Blue in Miami. It's all a bed, it's lights, you shut your door, you go to sleep. But the amenities are very different. Your experience sleeping at Fountain Blue compared to sleeping at the Motel 6 gonna be night and day, even though in all theory it's just what? Oh, it's just a bed, it's just a door, just a light, you just turn it on and off, but it's night and day in terms of the difference. So with the locker situation, think that exact same thing. You don't gotta, it's not overcomplicated. It's no, yeah, quality of life. Which one would you rather stay in when we go to some of these places on the road? You want to stay in some of these Motel 6s or you want to stay where we've been staying at? You know what I mean?
Bro, I'm low maintenance, dude.
You-
I'm telling you, the one time,
yeah.
oh my God. We went up to that golf trip.
Yeah.
Up in Erie. This was before the Bills game because I met you up there.
Yeah.
My buddy ordered a hotel. It was like a motel. I don't know what the hell
Oh
it was.
no. Oh no, bro. Oh no.
There was legit a cigarette
Dude.
burn hole
Yeah,
on my
bruh.
sheet. It was
See?
hilarious.
See?
But like that doesn't. I'll be honest. Like that doesn't bother me. I'm like really low maintenance, so I'm probably
see,
the wrong guy to ask.
no, and that's perfect. But that just also shows just the difference of quality. For me, I'm not standing for nothing like that. You're not gonna have burn holes. I've been in hotel rooms where you see insects coming and crawling around. I'm not standing anything like
Yeah,
that.
that's a little too much.
But
That might be my line.
yeah, but see, usually for me, when I see cigarette hole, usually I've seen bugs that come with that, and I've also seen some type of bodily fluid on said sheets as well.
Oh, come on.
So ask yourself this: if they won't even give you a sheet that doesn't have a hole in it, do you think they wash that big comforter? Okay then. Okay, so when you hear me talk about quality, this is what I'm referring to right here. All right.
With JuJu, do you
Yeah.
think there's less of how do I want to phrase this? The fans aren't pushing as much for JuJu to come back this year compared to last year. Are you getting that vibe too?
I definitely am. I think last year there was a lot more just excitement surrounding JuJu because remember he was still having a really good season too.
Almost had 100 receptions. Yeah.
He was having a good season. It wasn't. He didn't sustain it because remember towards the end of the year, that's when we started to have the issue with the TikTok versus actual on-field productivity. But as a whole, we were like, man, JuJu was still a good player. And it was more so, are they going to try to run it back with Ben or does, he leave to go to better, to a better situation potentially? So I do feel like people still wanted him because we saw what he could bring. Whereas this year, you think about how the offense looked as a whole, you think about how he looked in the offense with Matt Canada and how we really didn't feel like, he just exploded in this offense and was a game record and things like that.
It was only like what, 5 or 6 games.
Yeah. So I feel like part of it is you forget the productivity because it's been over a year in terms of like the really good season versus last season. Then you also just have that sour taste of, man, he is a part of the Ben Roethlisberger time frame, right? So, man, we saw what he looked like without AB. We don't like that. We feel like his best quarterback was Ben. Ben's retired. Why do we need to bring him back? Maybe we need a different style of receiver as well. So I think all of those factors have played into why people aren't banging the table and having out their pitchforks and stuff for JuJu to be returning. Whereas it's more so if he comes back, great, but if he leaves, they're fine with it. I think that's the reason for it. And like I said, it's not a negative thing, but that's just one of those, yeah, when you don't continue to produce at the level in which the expectations for you are, and you have other guys around like a Deontay Johnson, like a Chase Claypool that have emerged, it makes you a little bit more expendable to the fans' eyes as well.
I even remember for myself, I mean, my main thing was I wanted Ben back, but I know I was excited at the thought of JuJu coming back too, because a lot of what I was thinking was just like, let's run it back. I think this team deserves another chance.
Yeah.
Now I knew, I mean, even the 1 year at 8 million, I don't know if that was the smartest move, thinking that we didn't bring back Steven Nelson or didn't bring back Mike Hilton. I don't think that was the direct reason.
Yeah.
But when it all played out, you're like, oh, we could have used that 8 million elsewhere.
Yeah, without a doubt, man.
And a lot of people are talking about that now after seeing Mike Hilton play good. And Steven Nelson had a pretty good season for the Eagles,
he
too.
Did. He definitely did, man. Definitely
Whereas
did.
JuJu, he wasn't on the field. I mean, that's fluky stuff, getting injured like that. But even in the games that he did play, the Chiefs game, he came back. What do you have, like 20 or 30 yards? And then the first 5 games of the season, I think he only had like 150 total. So it's not that good of an average on a per game basis.
Yeah, it was a down year for him, man. Definitely was.
So right now, yeah, I would like JuJu back. I'm like, me personally, I don't have the same vibe that I had last year, though, in terms of excitement or even like pushing forward or hearing some of the rumors where it's like, oh, JuJu's talking about coming back. What's the possibility? I'd be like, I'd get excited. Right now, it's like I don't have that big of a feeling one way or another.
Yeah, man, that's just a product of the productivity going down, man. But whew, interesting though. I like it. So let's get into these supers as well, man.
Can you read them? I got them all.
Yeah, if you got some, you start them as well on your end. Should we be at Hannibal? No, we should be at, Hannibal. Hannibal 090. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, it says Pete's Moats and Deke. With all the Malik buzz, do you have concerns with the 6-foot quarterback? I do think he's technically 6'1" on the measurables.
Yeah, he measured
at least what they have listed. He might be 6 foot though.
Yeah.
Does Ben have me spoiled in thinking we need a tall quarterback? That's an interesting comment.
Well, I know for me, I prefer your traditional taller quarterbacks like your Ben Roethlisbergers, like your Brady's, etc. Just because you don't have to worry about their vision being compromised. They typically can see over the inside of the line of scrimmage, the center and the guards. When you have a tall quarterback, you can't, like, the rush doesn't affect it to the same extent. Whereas versus shorter quarterbacks, you tell them, hey man, you got to make sure you keep your pressure up the 3, interior lineman places, because it's going to force that quarterback to have to escape the pocket every time to throw it. And by doing that, you can limit them. You know what I mean? So that's some of the things that I think of. But with a guy like Malik, I mean, he just shows the athletic ability that even though he is a shorter quarterback, he can get enough depth in the pocket. He understands how to climb the pocket. He understands how to maneuver through the pocket as well. And that's why I don't think it's as much of a knock on some of these quarterbacks. When you're talking about a Malik, when you're talking about even a Sam Howell, a Bailey Zappe, guys who aren't necessarily extremely tall quarterbacks, but they just know how to maneuver in the pocket, you can get away with it. But for me, I typically do prefer a more traditional, taller style quarterback as well. But with Malik though, man, I mean,
I'm on the hype train, dude. I'm on the hype train.
No, like, in all honesty, bro, like, Malik is a really good player. The more I watch him, this is what I'm at right now with him. I think everything we talked about on the other day is true. I think he's a great athlete. I love how he can throw the ball. The toughness is there. The wow, in terms of like off the ball, jump off the screen, playmaking ability. A couple of things that I don't like about him right now. Inconsistent with his footwork. I think that, man, when he drops back, sometimes he has a tendency to drift and it gets him in trouble, more trouble than he would necessarily need to be in. Now, granted, that offensive line that he was playing with was not the best, because yes, I think he was like sacked like some absurd amount of times and everything like that. So I don't like that part about his footwork and stuff as well. Another thing I don't like, I think that at times he holds the ball too long, but I don't know if it is because he can't see these routes, like he can't see all the way down the field in some of these cases, or if he's just waiting to see a guy get all the way open, if that makes sense. Because there's been some times where you're looking at crossers coming through or some slants and you're like, well, man, you could have hit that in this first window here, but because you waited, now this rusher is in your face and now you're pulling it and you're scrambling, you have to do something like crazy heroic. I don't know if that, like I said, if that was just, you see that rusher and that took his mind off of it, or if he just couldn't see this guy getting open. You know what I mean? Those are some of the things that I'm at with him right now, but he is definitely like, the more I watch him, I can definitely understand why people are falling in love with him, and why, even if the Steelers were to take him, I could understand why right now. You know what I mean? Just some of the things that he has already in his wheelhouse, some of the things that have popped up on film with him, it is definitely, it makes some sense.
I've seen a film review on him on YouTube, person talking about, you brought up him like waiting to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Do you think this has anything to do with it too? You talked about him maybe not being able to see them down the field or waiting for them to get open. Is he focused on his first read a little bit too often and not switching off that? Could you see that being the case?
Well, and that's the thing where I said I want to watch more of it to see if that is the case, because that could easily be it. It could be that, hey man, he's waiting on that first read to come open, even though it's like, hey man, based on this alignment, that's not going to be there. Go to the next thing. It could be that, or it could be the other two things that we talked about. I guess I just have to watch more of him to see that, because like I said, there's one thing, like when you start breaking these guys down, it's like you start watching a game. Then it's like, all right, well, he did that in this game. Well, let me see how he reacted in this game. And then from there, it's like, okay, now we can build a little bit of a pattern, a little bit of a report on him. So that's the thing. Like I said, I just got to see it more. But the more I watch him, though, man, I do think that, man, he has a crazy strong arm. And when he actually does go through his like fundamentals of proper footwork, transferring that weight from his back foot to his front foot, driving through his hips and stuff like that, man, he throws a beautiful ball. Beautiful ball. But he has to do it consistently. And that's the part, like at times, it reminded me of like Dwayne Haskins' footwork in Washington early on, where it's like you can see the arm angles and all the arm talent, but it's like you don't have to throw it like that if you just set your feet. You know what I mean? For him, I don't know if it's because of just how athletic he is, but he does have a tendency to let his feet get a little out of whack.
That athleticism, though, is something that Haskins and Mason don't have, and what he could bring to the Matt Canada offense, and maybe something that could help him get away with that other stuff in his first year if he was given the starting job right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like we could win games.
Oh, without a doubt you could.
Maybe him not being fundamentally sound as a drop back passer right off the bat. Like you could evolve into that. But we could get away with, man, him rushing for 80 yards in a game, doing some RPOs, or if like honestly, breaking down, scrambling for 20 yards.
Well, I was going to say, I could easily see a scenario where he comes in and he's between the versions of Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson, whereas he's a better passer, better athlete than Huntley, but not as good of a passer, not as athletic as Lamar, but he's still a guy that you can come in and win with. He's still a guy that would create problems for a defense. He could make you play certain coverages, because that part continues to be real. The more and more tape I watch on him, when teams give him man-to-man, he does not have an issue pulling that ball down and making them pay for it. And for me, that's how you weaponize your athletic ability. That's what your Josh Allens, your Patrick Mahomes have started to do, your Justin Herberts, where, man, you play certain coverages, they're not even dealing with it. They're like, I'm going to pull this down, and me getting a 20-yard run is just as effective as me throwing a deep out. It's just as effective as me throwing a flag route and stuff like that. So I do like that about him. You can see like the mentality with him, like he understands how to play the position really well. And that's the thing I like. And I do think with a quarterback like Malik, honestly, man, you either have the talent or you don't. He has that part. I think the technique, you can correct that, because I look at Dwayne Haskins and I talk about how he looked in Washington. Then we talk about him in the preseason. I was like, yo, his footwork was cleaned up. I feel like with Coach Sullivan as the QB coach, man, we can clearly point to one example right here of a guy who had bad footwork and now his footwork looks improved. I'm saying, hey, I'm hanging my head on that. I'm trying to bring him and say, you know what? If I can get Malik with a Sullivan, then all right, that can clean up that footwork stuff. That cleans up the footwork stuff. Well, now it's just about growth and development, more reps. You know what I mean? Film studies and stuff like that. So I definitely think that this could be something that we should keep an eye on even more, man.
Oh yeah, I'm buying into the hype. I definitely am. And it looks like Tomlin is too. Apparently, he's standing out in the rain to continue watching the quarterbacks go to work, and Malik Willis is out there. So you're right, something to monitor. We got Black and Martyr though with this chat. Says it'll suck to lose JuJu, but I can't fault him for doing what he feels is best for him. Will suck to see the fan base destroy him over it.
Yeah.
I don't know if the fan base will destroy him over that.
I feel like if it was a year ago, they would. If it was a year ago, they definitely would have given him a little bit more flack. But yeah, I think this year, man, it's going to be one of those. We appreciate you, JuJu. Your time here was great, but at the same time, they're ready to go in a different direction. And people just, a lot of people are you know how it is with JuJu. The line in the sand is you either love JuJu or you strongly dislike JuJu because of his personality and all the other stuff. So I think you're going to see that same thing play out whenever he signs, wherever he signs. You're going to get that support, but you're also going to get the people that we're going to hate on him regardless.
Do you think it'll be See, I don't think it'll be a hate of like, bro, you should have came back. I think people will be like, oh, good riddance. Like, I never really
That's what
wanted
I'm
you
saying.
here anyway.
Yeah, like that element.
That's what I would guess.
Yep.
But I'm with him on the comment of, yeah, do what's best for you, man. Like, I don't blame you one way or another, because the state of the Steelers franchise right now, if you're looking for more quarterback security, potentially even more money, you could probably find that elsewhere.
No, without a doubt,
and
man.
We don't really view you as a wide receiver one or want to pay you that much.
Yeah.
So it could just be we're moving in different directions, almost like James Conner last year.
Well, shoot, not even just wide receiver one, debatable wide receiver two, because we got a Deontay and we got a Claypool, and that's the debate of where does JuJu fall in terms of ranking against those three guys and those other guys and stuff like that, because they're all very dynamic, very different in terms of their approach. Yeah.
Dave Shipley says, I thought you guys were neighbors.
Deke, man, just walk around the corner, bro. Just like, come on, man. Hey, go on.
All right, we got another one.
First off, why we got to be neighbors? How you know we don't go to like a big studio that just happens to have all these shoes and a big, painting a meter? Like, come on, bro. Like, we're not good enough to have a studio. That's what you're trying to tell us. We're trying to say here. What you trying to say? Oh, I just messed it.
Well, there are a lot of misconceptions or myths about how the podcast started. Some people thought I was like the mailman and just showed up on your front door the one day, delivered a package and said, hey, bro, you want to start a podcast?
Bro, I got these
neighbors
tapes.
might have been in there. Like, I was just your next door neighbor, like a stoner, and was just like, bro, you want to start a podcast?
Bro, what's up, bro? Man, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that either. Trying to blast off. All right, why not? Man, throw that mic over there. Let's talk. All right, cool. Why not?
The Brobarian says, Deke, do you see the helmet I'm holding in the locker that I'm standing next to? Yes, it's for fans, but still.
Yeah, that's the nice locker.
This comment.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the nice locker too that he's at. That's the game day one, man.
I'm lost on this. What's he talking about?
I think the best thing he's just saying is when we were talking about the lockers. We were talking about the lockers in his little picture, like his YouTube profile picture.
I got you.
Yeah,
I see it. He's at Ben's locker. I see it. Yeah. I zoomed in now. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I thought he was making a joke because I got Heinz Field in the background.
No,
I thought he was talking about the JuJu thing. So okay, I get it now. I get it now. It's a profile pic.
Deep is over that thing, white clawed it this morning. Let's get it.
If JuJu goes to the Chiefs, he's pulling a KD. I don't agree with that.
If JuJu was like TJ
Watt, he's not
right. Yeah, I'm gonna say he would need to be like the guy out there for that to be the case, man. Now, because Devontae goes to the Niners, that don't count either. I'm trying to think. If Deebo Samuels were to join the Rams, there you go. That'd be an example. Yeah,
that's not bad. That's a not bad example.
Yeah, now the KD one though. The KD one is so just. It's so egregious. Yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna.
I don't agree with the KD one.
KD one was rough. That was foul, man. That was foul. But yeah, we do have a new upper room member. It looks like it is Kenny Ainsworth. Kenny Ainsworth, welcome to the upper room. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, baby. I like it. Welcome to the family. Let's go. Uh-oh. And then we also had another just popped in as well. Did you see that?
Yeah, let's go, UW.
Yes.
What do you guys think about the new Washington team name? We discussed that briefly. It was brought up in the chat last time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of the name. It's whatever.
Commanders.
I do like their jerseys, though.
Yeah. See,
they should have stuck with the football team, in my opinion. That was a cool, unique thing that just they had. I thought they should have stuck with that.
Yeah, for me, I like the football team. I thought it grew on me, man. It was clean. It was different. The Commanders, I feel like, you remember on Madden where you could like create a franchise, or you could start your own like organization, and they're like, oh, these are the team names that you could come up with. And it was all these generic, like, oh, Commanders, the Warriors, the whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I think of that, and I just think Commanders, I'm like, yeah, that just fits generic name, doesn't really move my needle either way. But I'm sure they're just thinking, what's the safest thing that we could come up with that won't offend anybody? And yeah, I guess Commanders is that.
They botched it up bad too. They probably weren't thinking this about the name, but did you see the Twitter post on it with the towels?
Yeah. It's not a good look, bro. It's not a good look. Whenever they shorten it, I'm
the
like,
internet's too clever, man. The
I'm like,
internet's too
you can't
clever for that shit.
abbreviate
You gotta
this.
look. You gotta think of all the angles before you make your team name.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we could abbreviate. I'm like, no, don't abbreviate this. Please don't, Lord, please don't do that. Yeah,
Alicia Bellard. She says, I read that the team met with. Oh, this. We already know we're drafting this guy. I read the team met with Connor Hayward. I know he's a hybrid fullback / tight end. Do you think they met with Connor as a Cam courtesy or a true interest? Both.
Definitely both. You know they're gonna take one. I'm not even. Well, we don't have to speculate this. We can guarantee this one. Okay, they have a direct bloodline connection to one of their star players in Cam Hayward. We know the track record here. Look for Connor Hayward to be drafted at some point in time in this next draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers, ladies and gentlemen. The interest is real. Sound the alarm, ladies and gentlemen. Sound the alarm. Dude, you know what this is.
He looked like a pretty decent route runner, though. I saw one of his little highlights.
Well, I remember when he first got to Michigan.
He looked like he was torching some guys.
Yeah, when he first got to Michigan State, he was usually just like as a fullback, running back type, and then bulked him up a little bit, put him out there, let him play in space and stuff. I like that, though, man. Like I said, for me, I just don't know the fit. Because for what we will be asking him to do, I'm pretty sure is some of the stuff that we want Frymouth to do. You know what I mean? And some of the stuff that Gentry is already doing as well. But I mean, I'm down for it. Like I said, it's Cam's brother. So you know how we do in Pittsburgh. If it's family, it doesn't matter. We will make room on the roster for family. Somehow, some way.
Do they have to sacrifice one to bring in another? Does that mean we don't bring back Watt? Is that what that is?
Well, you know what they could do? They could say, "Hey, Watt, we've been having Trey Edmonds on this practice squad. Can we? Is your turn? You know what I mean? I know
is it Trey Edmonds then that's gone.
You know what I'm saying?
Do we
like
keep him around somehow for like the 5th year in a row on the practice
because
squad?
but say Trey just lingers. He just lingers. So it's all good, man. We're like, Derek, look, you might get more money out there, but do you really want to be here with your brother, or you want to go out to AZ with your other brother? That's the real question here. You know what I mean? What you trying to do here? Okay, let us know. But yeah, Connor Hayward is going to be in Pittsburgh, bro. It's happening, man. It's happening.
Yeah, Trey Edmonds is like one of those dudes. You forget he's on the roster, but he's gonna pop up week 8 and get like 2 carries, and then we won't see him again.
Shoot, I even think of how we have both of the Davis brothers on the roster. Think about that. We got Carlos Davis, and we got Khalil. We went back and got the other one. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't play. If his brothers in the league, oh yeah, we get them for a fact. That's what we're gonna do.
Who is this? Is this Tomlin's doing, or is this?
I don't know, bro.
Now that Colbert's gone, we may not be seeing this anymore.
Nah, bro. Part of it feel like it's Tomlin because he's always big on pedigree. He was the one who used to piss me off with that all the time. Moats, man, look, this dude right here, that's pedigree. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what you mean it's pedigree? Now, his daddy played in the league. Oh, his granddad. So you see, I need to have
Devin Bush.
You know what I mean? Right? Yeah. So I'm like, so I need to look at my dad sideways. Is that what you telling me? Yeah, man. So I would get more playing time and more money if my granddad played in the league. Is that what you're telling me? You know what I mean? But he's big on that. Even when he brought in Robert Spillane, he talked about that pedigree. Like he's big on.
His dad was the
Heisman winner. Absolutely. But bro, like dead serious. Coach T talks about that all the time. When he brought in TJ Watt, before we ever saw TJ Watt step on the field, he was like, "Yo, look at this guy."
That's the good one then.
Yeah, he was like, "Man, look at this NFL pedigree." He was like, "Man, he was like certain things that you get, you know, when you have a household where a brother or a dad or a granddad play in the league, like those guys are just typically smarter. They just typically understand how to take care of their bodies, the seriousness." And I'm like, listen, Coach T, it sounds like you just telling me different reasons why you don't want to put me out there because my daddy ain't playing the league. My daddy was a math teacher and he was a Marine. My daddy had kicked their daddy. Oh, all right. It was like it got that rush hour scene going on and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's hilarious.
Antonio Brown's day. He was another one. Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Maybe it makes sense as to why he was meeting with Malik Willis's parents. He just wanted to ask him, play any college ball, bro?
What about Mama Willis? Mama Willis, you tennis, volleyball, track,
WNBA.
I'm looking for some pedigree. I just need a reason. What you got a second cousin? It don't got to be blood related. A third cousin. That's cool. Just in the family. Is he at the family reunion? As long as he shows up at the family reunion with some type of NFL memorabilia on, we could work with that. That's how I feel like that's how I feel he works, man. Pedigree.
The barbarian. Do y'all feel, this one's a good question. Do y'all feel like any of these quarterbacks can just pick apart a defense? Just that simple?
Yeah, the guy we're going to talk about later today, Bailey Zappe, I definitely think he can. Kenny Pickett, obviously, I think he can. Matt Corral, I think he can in a sense. Because when I think of picking apart a defense, I think of if a team is just going to play zone coverages, that's what I think of picking apart defenses. They got to be able to hit these windows. They got to be able to anticipate, these throws and where these natural lanes will be based on the different coverages, whether it's 4, 3, 2, Tampa 2, 2-man, you know what I mean? Things like that. Just understanding those holes. I do think the guys that I just named off the top of my head could definitely do that. Carson Strong, he's another guy I think has that ability. The difference is when you start talking about mixing in those coverages, throwing into man windows, that's where some of these quarterbacks start to separate themselves because man windows are way tighter. The accuracy, the touch definitely plays a lot more of it has more of a premium in those situations and stuff like that. So for me, man, yeah, I do think though that those guys that I just named and stuff like that could definitely pick apart a defense if you're just gonna sit back, play zone, and try to, oh man, make that guy beat us with his arm. Like, no, they can do that. They can definitely do that.
Yeah. Last one, I think. James Hayes. I want Malik to be drafted. Free agency guy's probably going to be too expensive. Get some vets in free agency and draft for other holes. I do think some of these free agency guys might be actually kind of cheap, depending on who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like Mariota, it's going to be like $5-6 million maybe for him. It's kind of cheap.
Absolutely, man. And low key, it might be less because he messed himself up by coming back on that little cheaper deal to Vegas. Remember we talked about how that first year paid him, was it 8 or something like that? And then the next year was like, was it 3? I think it was. Yeah, so
for 3.25.
Yeah, so it's like when you come back and you play for a 3.25, that's your market. You're a 3.25 guy. So now you're not negotiating from the 8, you're negotiating from that 3. So that's why I'm like, man, it definitely could be cheaper than that if he already signed back for a 3.25. Yeah.
Jameis at 10, that kind of feels cheap for a guy that's proven to be pretty decent starting quarterback. I know we could rip on the 30 picks, but still threw for 30 touchdowns. Still the arm talent there. Looked like he cleaned it up with the Saints and looked a lot better.
He fixed the eyeballs, man. He got that LASIK, man. You gotta get that out right, bro.
I still feel like there's some hope for Jameis. I definitely do. The talent's still there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I actually feel like the free agent quarterbacks are going to be on the cheaper side.
Yeah,
that might deter us from drafting a dude. I could see that being the case for sure.
I could, but I think I would be a little frustrated if that was the case. It depends on which veteran free agent quarterback we picked up. For example, if we brought in a Jameis and that kept us from drafting a Malik, it's like, all right, I can live with that. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, Jameis or Mariota.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but
if
it's not Jameis, if it's not Mariota, and that forces us to and that makes us not draft one of those guys, I'm gonna be a little bit upset about that because I do feel like any of these guys that we're naming in terms of this year's quarterbacks class, nobody like jumps off in terms of, oh, he's the clear-cut number one prospect. But all of these guys do have a similar baseline in the sense that they appear to be comparable, that you could develop them in just different variations of what talent you need around them. But I do think that I would much rather be invested in them over a 4 or 5 year window than 1 to 3 year window with a Fitzpatrick or somebody lesser than that. You know what I mean? And now you're compensating those guys as well. Like, I just don't like that feel where I think, one of these guys you could work with, you could develop, and now you got that model anyways of cheap labor, good play, all the talent around you, you can still win like that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And at least with Jameis and Mariota, I still feel like there's something untapped there.
Yeah, without a doubt,
This could be their last stop, but at least you could take the chance. And I would feel the same way about the rookie quarterback, right? You're taking the chance because there's upside there. There's potential. This guy could be your franchise guy. Whereas if you bring in like a Fitzpatrick, what's another name that's out there? I don't know. But if it's
Gardner Minshew, Gardner Minshew's another guy. Gardner Minshew's another guy,
or
man.
trading for Jimmy G, it's like I don't need that, dude.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I do, because it's just, to me, the cost, the risk reward, man. I just don't like that with that particular with that position right there, man, because it costs too much, and the effects of being wrong when you're talking about the quarterback position, man, it kills you. Like, you go out here, you draft the wrong guy, or you go out here and you pay the wrong guy too much money at the quarterback position, it sets you back more than just that season. It typically has a ripple effect, you know what I mean? Because you're not able to boast up other spots around, or you still have to deal with the ramifications of the money that was allotted to those guys. So yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, if we're gonna do it, it needs to either be a Jameis, a Mariota, and after that, draft the guy.
Unless
So,
I'm missing someone off the top of my head, but those are the two. Just
I was like,
because they
because with
were
Carr, you
the
got to
1 and
trade for
2,
Carr.
the first round picks. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But do we have anything left with the JuJu free agency talk? Okay.
No, we're good on the chats too. We're all caught up there.
So yeah, man, we'll go to this next
topic. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So obviously the other day, the big bombshell news was former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores suing the NFL, talking about the hiring process, having discrimination and racial undertones and being in that discrimination process. And he also had brought up allegations against Stephen Ross, where he alleged that the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, was offering him $100,000 to tank games, to intentionally lose games at the NFL level and stuff like that. Since then, we have had some responses. Now, these responses, they vary a little bit, but they are very interesting as well. So the first person that that we'll address is Mr. Rooney. Mr. Rooney, because he obviously has the Rooney Rule, and that is what is not being sued, but it is at the forefront of the lawsuit because of its design. And the design of the Rooney Rule is to enhance and improve the hiring process for minorities at the head coach and executive levels and stuff like that. So he addressed that part of it. If you got those quotes, Deke, go ahead and take over, please.
I'm not going to comment on the specific allegations in the lawsuit brought by Brian Flores, but I do want to comment on the general state of affairs in regards to diversity policies and the NFL. Over the past several years, our diversity committee has recommended and ownership has adopted a number of enhancements to the Rooney Rule, as well as new policies designed to ensure that women and minorities are receiving full and fair consideration for coaching and front office positions. The details of these enhancements and new policies have previously been made available. While I acknowledge that we have not seen progress in the ranks of head coaches, we have seen marked improvement in the hiring of women and minorities in other key leadership roles, such as coordinator positions, general manager positions, and front office positions. Both in and out of football operations, I believe progress has been made as a result of the implementation of many of the enhanced policies that were recently adopted. The commissioner and league executives, as well as the diversity committee, remain committed to working with all clubs, the Fritz Pollard Alliance, and others in making these efforts as effective as possible and building upon them to promote the desired impacts on hiring decisions in the league at all levels, including head coaching positions. That is it.
Yeah, man. So first off, I do like the fact that he was just, blatant with it. He said, I'm not even going to address that Stephen Ross situation. I'm staying away from that altogether. I said, okay, Mr. Rooney, you're not playing around today. All right, I like it when the boss man come out there and speak. Now, when the boss man come talk, everybody come and listen. Yeah, he was like, look, we're not even going to play with that. If that's what Stephen was doing, that's what Stephen was doing. I ain't got nothing on anything over there, okay? But this Rooney Rule, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, because then if he shits on Ross, he's shitting on one of the other owners, which makes it look bad on the league as a whole.
He couldn't touch it, bro. It was a lose-lose for him. Like, yo, you can't say anything. Just leave it alone, Mr. Rooney. Leave it alone. So I did like that part. But in all seriousness, I get part of what he was saying in the sense of, yes, we have seen an increase in minority or women hires in non-head coaching roles, talking potential GMs, some of the football operations stuff. But to me, I just look at it like this. If the representation, even in those veins, were at 1% and now they're at 5%, that's not enough of an increase. That's not enough of it when you look at every hiring cycle for GMs. How many of them are non-minority candidates? When you talk about some of these higher up executive positions, they don't usually get talked about as much because they're not the glamour of head coach, GM, or player position coaches and stuff like that. So it's not talked about as often. But even in that vein, it's like, man, there isn't a large abundance of minority representation at that level. So it still is a fundamental flaw there. But the part that I didn't like was how he kind of just, he was like, hey, we know the head coaching situation isn't good, but what about these things over here? And it's like, well, those things are cool, but this part right here still matters in terms of the head coaching element, because that's still an executive position. That's still a leadership role. And the fact that there isn't representation there out of 32 teams, when you're talking about, less than what, 5 or less than 20% of the league and stuff like that, in terms of like the representation at the coaching level, like that has to be improved. Now, it got even more, I started thinking about it even more a little bit, man, when you start to hear some more of these stories about guys bringing up these sham interviews where they're saying essentially they're just going to fill a quota. They're going to just check a box, man. Like, what was your thoughts on that feeling right there, man, in terms of like that whole narrative that's popping up now?
Well, yeah, there's definitely a flaw in the Rooney rule. I wonder with his comment, he's thinking, now, how was it a couple years back? Wasn't there more minority head coaches a couple years back? Wasn't it up to 8 at some point recently?
It was that, I forgot, that was probably 5, maybe 6 years ago. I think
okay, so the amendments actually came after that.
Yeah, because it was only for like that one season where it had ballooned like that, and then it went right back to being like, I think whenever Marvin Lewis got fired.
Okay.
It was around like that time frame where they were like, all right, we got to make an amendment, because it was literally like Coach T and Ron Rivera were the only 2 minority head coaches in the league. It was nuts. But there was a time where, yeah, it did get to about 6 or 7 guys. I think it was when Caldwell was in Indianapolis as well and stuff like that, man. But the problem has continued to be that it's not sustained. When we talk about the non-minority element of it, those coaches, it's just, how do you sustain every single season them having 25 to 27, non-minority coaches every single season? Whereas like you do the math on the hiring cycle and the firing cycle, you do the math on just the sheer amount of players that play in this league that turn into coaches. If over 70% of the league is minority, and you think about that pool of players to go back into coaching, well, why is there becoming less and less representation at these higher end positions in football? That's going back to the Rooney rule in terms of where that flaw is and how to address it and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if he's thinking with his statement, after the amendments, we have seen improvements in the executive level with minorities and coordinators and whatnot. Just let it play out. Like the change takes time type of theory. But at the same time, I do think there is like a fundamental flaw in the rule because of the sham interviews that you talk about. Because that's just BS, man. Like if you're not going to hire someone, they shouldn't have to come in for an interview. Man. It's just fake, right? But you still want minorities to get the opportunities that traditionally white guys in those positions have gotten. So how do you do that? That's what I mean. The idea of the Rooney rule has always been good. It's always been really good because you're trying to get more opportunities for minorities, but we don't want the sham interviews.
Yeah, and another thing that I thought of with this, I was looking at how they incentivized it a year ago, right? This was last October when they fully made the amendment, but I think that it's reverse engineered in the sense they are rewarding the development of coaches to go to executive levels, but they're not rewarding the person actually taking the chance on hiring these guys, right? So it's like, so the way it's set up right now, because the Kansas City Chiefs, they're about to receive an extra 3rd round draft pick because they developed a person in their organization that got hired to an executive role to go to Denver with the Broncos, right? So the way the rule is set up right now, if you develop a guy, whether it's a position coach, whether it's somebody in the executive role in your organization, and they leave to go to become a head coach, they go to become a general manager or a front office exec, your team that exec is leaving from, they will receive a 3rd round draft pick. So it incentivizes developing minority candidates, but it's not incentivizing the hiring of them. So for me, reason why I say it's reversed, I'm like, man, don't just incentivize the development. Why don't you incentivize the teams that actually hire these guys as well? Because now if you're also saying, hey, if you hire a minority coach at the head coach level or at a GM or as an executive, and in terms of like the whole interview process when it becomes open and stuff like that, if you hire a guy like that, hey, well, we'll give you a draft pick as well. So whether you're giving them a draft pick, or if you say you want to give them salary, an extended salary cap, you boost up that. I think some of those things could be enticing. And as long as obviously you have to fine tune it to make sure that nobody's trying to, perform a a little janky service of, all right, I'm gonna hire the guy this year, get the draft pick, then fire him the next year. Like, you have to have some parameters and stuff like that around it.
Make it a future pick, maybe.
Right. Whether it's like, hey, not this year's draft, but the following year's draft. And the reason why I said the salary cap thing is because it's like, hey, while he's in that position for, this year, the first 2 years, or if he's there for the first 3 years, we'll boost your salary cap by extra 10 mil. You know what I mean? Something like that, right? And then it's like, hey, if you fire him though during that time frame, you're gonna lose money out that salary cap as well. So I think of that, and I'm like, that could also incentivize, because the whole thought process, or this whole notion of, well, hey, just hire the best guy. Hey, man, just let the process be what it is. Who needs a rule? If everything was operating the way it should be, you wouldn't need to have incentive. You wouldn't need to have incentives. You wouldn't need to have these rules. But because the elongated history of this issue, being what it is, it's like, no, we have to have these type of rules. We have to talk about that. And I'm glad that a guy like Mr. Rooney is actually trying to implement it and be at the forefront of change in this conversation, but it still has a lot of work that needs to be done, man.
Yeah. Now, what'd you think of the other responses? I think you had all three. You had not Flores, Ross.
You had Stephen Ross and John Elway. Yeah.
And Elway. Yeah.
Well, for the Elway one, I thought it was funny. I was like, first off, your PR team did a great job of trying to word this the way that they did. But I was like, you never really deny, the allegations about you appearing to be drunk. It was like, oh man, I was on a flight, the night before. I'm like, bro, I hear that, but people can recognize drunk versus jet lag. But, I wasn't in that room. These are all allegations either way. So I was like, all right, I get it. Until there is proof, you got to accept both of these guys at their word. At least that's how I operate. Same with the Giant situation. Giant situation, definitely, I wasn't really believing it. I ain't really feel
it.
Their
best comment, though, was like when they talked about Belichick, they were like, he has nothing to do with this organization. So text messages on him thinking a person has the job, that doesn't reflect what we're actually doing. I thought that was their best one. But yeah, all of this stuff is one side says something, the other side has their case. You know what I mean? Back and forth.
Because even with that, from their executives, those guys responded the way that they did. We talked about Hugh Jackson, but also right here in Pittsburgh, Terrell Austin. Yes, our Terrell Austin.
I saw some headlines. His
agent, yes. So Terrell Austin's agent also said that Terrell has been on sham interviews as well.
That was with the Lions.
Yes, absolutely. He talked about with the Lions. I think it was it was the Lions, and it might have been one other spot. But yeah, he definitely said that, man, the team, they already knew that they were gonna. I forgot who they were hiring, but he said they already knew that Patricia. It was Matt Patricia. He was like, they already knew they were gonna hire Matt Patricia. Everybody knew it, and it was just, hey, you got to come in here to basically check off this box of, hey, we interviewed another minority candidate. Yeah. Absolutely. And I was surprised to see that. Now, granted, Terrell would have to have confirmed it with his agent that he could even release that information. But I was surprised because, like I said, this is a rule that is named after, Mr. Rooney, not Art Rooney, but in terms of Dan Rooney and stuff like that. So when I think of that, and I'm just like, man, for his agent to say that while he's still employed in Pittsburgh, man, like, okay, it just feels like it has a little bit more validity to it, because guys are really putting their careers on the line in some cases.
Yeah, and you might have hit on this last podcast, but with Flores doing the lawsuit, maybe you'll see more and more guys like Terrell Austin. Then you have Hugh Jackson just coming out with their stories.
Yeah,
in a
because
sense, you know what I mean?
Because it's interesting to hear in times, because it's like, man, well, who were some of these guys who were getting interviewed? Because not everybody that gets interviewed makes a headline. It's not, oh, well, hey, this guy came in to talk. It just rolls under the radar and stuff like that. So it is kind of like, oh man, well, this guy was considered, they took him over him, but what was the context during that time frame? And that's the other part that I think of. It's like, man, we look at it after the fact. I'm like, oh yeah, Patricia, man, you sucked as a coach. But during that time frame, were people going to be viewing Matt Patricia like that? You know what I mean? And that's the part for me where I always have to try to go back in my mind to remember what were,
he was probably a hot candidate.
Right. And that's the thing, because he was coming off the Patriots staff. I think they had just won a Super Bowl as well. He was the DC out there. So like, it's things like that where I'm like, I have to just think in that context, not in the sense of I've already seen Patricia in that role. We already know Patricia failed in that role. Why would they put him over X and X and X? So that's the other part where it gets a little tricky with this, but it still continues to show
the
a
same
pattern,
could be said with
though.
Brian Dable.
Correct.
Right? He's been a hot candidate for 2 years right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even eventually when Eric Bieniemy becomes a head coach somewhere, it's going to be the same conversation with him, man. But yeah, man, it's just one of those things, dude, that it just continues to show a little bit of a pattern, though. And I think that's the part with the history of it, where you're just like, man, where there's smoke, there's fire. How many times are we going to keep hearing these type of stories while still seeing the lack of representation? It can't continue to be the same thing. And one of the things that Terrell Austin's agent said on his behalf was that you get these opportunities and they're great because typically minorities want to get these opportunities to interview for these positions. But the problem is this: when you're going on sham interviews, it's kind of like LeBron's finals record, right? It's great going to the finals until you go to a lot, but you're not winning as frequently as you need to be. And now they're saying to you, well, man, you've been on 7 interviews, no one's hired you. Why should I hire you? And now it's like, well, dude, it's not that I'm a bad candidate. It's not that I don't interview well. It's just that I've been going on sham interviews
90% of those
I don't have a chance, right? So it just looks bad. And I even think about that in an extent with Eric Bieniemy, not all the way there just yet. But if the longer this cycle continues to go for him, where he doesn't get a head coaching opportunity, you're going to hear the narrative of what? Man, it's Andy Reid. Oh, man, well, he just doesn't interview well. Oh, well, his schemes aren't as good as you think they are. He had Patrick Mahomes. But then it's like you could point to a guy like a Nathaniel Hackett. You could point to a guy that, is in the same exact situation where he has a head coach that calls these calls, where he has an elite quarterback, but yet they still get that opportunity, and he's just one example. I mean, we can go down that list as well, but those are some of the things that it hurts them in a sense when you are going on these sham interviews, like you just said as well, man.
The Bieniemy thing's interesting to me because wasn't it the last two guys, or usually anyone under Reid? The ones I can think of most recently are Peterson and then Nagy, right?
Yeah, yep.
Like, they just get
because McVay
jobs.
And McVay's the other guy. Anybody that's been under McVay, they get coaching jobs as well, man.
Yeah, that's why the Bieniemy thing's interesting to me. Where do you think this goes? We have the lawsuit from Flores.
Yeah.
We talked about how some of these dudes are coming out with their stories now. But then we have all the responses from the Giants, Ross, Rooney in this case, and Elway.
Yeah.
Where do you think this goes from here? Because when the lawsuit initially came down, what were our even thoughts then? I can't even remember. Was it like, it's just good that some action's being taken? Is that all this? You think that's all this is? The result of this?
No. So I think
action and just more awareness.
So I think action awareness definitely, and I think end goal is going to be amendments to hiring processes. I think that's where this thing ends, but I just don't know how long that takes, because when you start talking about litigation, defenses and stuff like that, it just, it can get dragged out for a while before we really see any significant change. I don't think this is a this year change type thing, unless Flores had a smoking gun and the NFL just wanted to keep him hush hush, and they say, you know what do you want us to change? We'll change it. We'll do this and that, and it'll get fixed right away. But unless he has that smoking gun, they're going to play the litigation game, and we're not going to see anything of substantial change for a couple of years. Realistically, that's just how it goes. So for me, I think that the awareness is key, because it's going to keep getting talked about. I think that continues to keep putting
Flores
pressure.
Could just lose this, right?
Correct. He could. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is continue to keep putting pressure on ownership, on executives, by having these conversations, by the media, the national media picking up stories like this, continuing it, not just NFL outlets, but when you talk about your CNNs, your Fox News, your stuff like that, I think that part also keeps that narrative going, very similar to when we saw the social justice movement, right? Initially, it was kind of like, well, what's the end game? Initially, it was like, well, I mean, a couple teams are doing it, a couple players, but it's not really talked about. Now you fast forward to where we are in 2022, and it's like, man, they got it in the end zone. It's on jerseys, it's on helmets, like it's commercial. It's a part of the NFL now. So I think that this could take a similar approach, where right now we're looking at it as, okay, this is the groundwork of it. But a year from now, it's like, okay, now we've seen an uptick in this area. Okay, more women are out here. Okay, now in another year, we see more people of Hawaiian and Asian descent getting involved as well. Okay, then from there, now, okay, we got a minority owner group. And that's how I see this thing going. But I think that this is definitely the framework for it. But he just has to, and not just Flores, everybody that has a story that they can help out in this avenue and are willing to, they just have to keep building up on this thing and keep taking it a step further. And then eventually, we'll see a more diverse representation at some of these higher up levels.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else to add. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, man.
Different angles or whatnot.
That was where I was at with it, man, right now. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that we did our due diligence, though. It's like, I always laugh.
There's all these sponsors right now. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Because most of the time you see people respond, they'll react to the Flores element of it because that's the hot, that was the spicy, and it gets all the attention. But it's like, man, we can't just assume that Flores is 100% accurate in everything that he's saying and hold him as gospel. We have to make sure he does his due diligence and presents his case. So when we hear the owners defend themselves, we also have to acknowledge that and talk about that as well. And for me, being a guy that has been on the side where it's like, man, you hear one side and never hear the other side, it's like, now let's make sure we do it the right way over here, Deke. You feel me? Because that's what we do. That's what we do.
I think we did that. Juicebox 32. We got a super chat. I think this is the only one. This is the article I was talking about. He says, y'all see the article on ESPN predicting us getting Jacoby Brissett. Also, we're officially on Munchak watch right now. And smash that like button. Yeah, that article has us getting Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell.
I did see that.
I don't want it all.
So for me, I didn't mind the Jacoby Brissett thing because Jacoby, I think someone asked him, I saw some quotes or something like that where he was basically saying that he would be interested in playing in Pittsburgh. He likes the situation in the sense that he could either come in and start or he wouldn't mind even being a backup here. Hearing that lets me know that, number one, his market isn't going to be crazy in terms of the numbers. Number two, he is still a veteran quarterback. Remember, he came in with the Colts. He's won games and stuff like that. He's definitely, excuse me, a good quarterback. He's not a really good quarterback. He's a good quarterback, though. So it's like if the numbers are cheap, you get your veteran. If you were to, have him in at the beginning of the year and he's developing whatever quarterback you draft, whether it's Sam Howell, Malik, whoever, I could see that route because Jacoby, I do think he would be a lot cheaper compared to some of the other free agent quarterbacks that we've been talking about as well. Or at least he should be. That's the only reason why I would want him here, would be super cheap. But he is a veteran who has starting experience. So I wouldn't hate that. The Sam Howell.
How does that play out though? Because that's 4 quarterbacks on the roster. If you draft,
no. I wouldn't want if you bring in Brissett, you got to get rid of somebody. Yeah, I would think you would get rid of somebody,
at the expense. You know how we were talking about bringing in Minshew or some other veteran quarterback. I wouldn't want him at the expense of us not drafting a guy though.
No.
So if we brought him in and then drafted a guy, he's there for just developmental purposes.
Yes, and then from there,
I mean that would be a crazy situation with the 4 QBs.
It wouldn't though. It wouldn't because you're not going to keep 4 QBs. You're only keeping 3 QBs at best. There's 2 dogs, 1 bone. I would want the guy that we draft
to be starting. Maybe that's where my mentality is right off the bat.
Think about this. And this is where we differ. You and I'm sure a lot of fans would be hey, throw him out there day one, and I would be over here. Do not throw him out there day one. That would be the conversation. So for me, I look at it and say you bring in Jacoby Brissett, you have him start at the beginning of the year because I don't think any of these quarterbacks, as I've said before, are coming in and just day one change the face of your franchise right now. I think that they can grow and develop into that, but I do think that they're going to have some growing pains with the way our offense is currently constructed. A Jacoby Brissett early on in the season can minimize that a little bit so you don't have to deal with the negative exposure, and that guy can be brought along a little bit slower as well while we're figuring out what this situation is going to look like. Matt Canada, the O-line, wide receiver room and stuff like that. So I don't hate that. You know what I mean? Like as long as the number is super cheap, and then from there, it's like Jacoby's at the beginning, you lock him in, you're good. All right, you draft your quarterback. All right, cool. And now you say Mason and Haskins. Y'all are still all open competition, Either one of y'all can, emerge and say, hey man, he should be the guy. He's defied odds. All right, he's the franchise, he's the core, he's QB1 this year. Or we're gonna look at y'all and say, all right, well, Mason, you played worse than Haskins, Mason, you're gone. Or they'll say, Haskins, you played worse than Mason, Haskins, you're gone. And that's how they'll rock with those 3 guys just like that. Like that's the scenario I could easily see it being as well, man.
Okay. See, I'm from the mindset of just what's the point? Because I see Brissett and Mason kind of in the same vein of like, this is the safe guy. I mean, you could win some games with Mason, limited. At the end of the day, if we brought Brissett in, I'm just like, I want to play Haskins over Brissett anyway.
Okay. Well,
that's my thought.
See, for me, I'm not like, I feel like with you already have your mind locked in. I look at it as, why should your mind be locked in on any of these guys? Because none of them have proven to be above competition. So why going with this mindset of, oh, if Brissett's here, it has to be Haskins? It's like, nah.
If we don't draft the guy, here's my thing. If we don't draft the guy, fine, because it'd be the exact same thing as like bringing in Fitzpatrick or Gardner Minshew. But if we bring Brissett and don't draft the guy, that's what I wouldn't like. If we could just bring in Brissett for competition, I'm perfectly fine with that.
But that's the whole purpose of a veteran free agent quarterback, because we currently don't have a veteran quarterback on the roster that can even come in and educate Mason and Haskins on how to be a 17-game starter. Educate them on different things that they're seeing in reads and stuff like that. We don't have that guy on the roster right now. So you could get a guy like that in Jacoby Brissett, who's been in some places where you have high-end quarterback play. Remember, he was in New England with Brady. He understands what that situation is like. He knows how to play quarterback, which is why he's been successful in his stints. He's just not a really good or an elite version of quarterback. And we know that's how we differ in terms of our approach. But to me, you can still have a guy like that and still draft whoever you want at quarterback. And I don't think that it hurts either or. I think, in fact, I personally like it because it benefits, because I don't have to throw a young prospect who I already feel is going to be a little bit more of a project than a day one, 5-star proven commodity. It's like, man, I don't want to enter that into a situation that we already know is going to have to get some kinks worked out early in the season, because you just set that person up for failure early on. And now you're going to have to ask them to overcome adversity physically, mentally, fan base wise. It's just a lot more that person's going to have to deal with as a rookie that you don't want young players to have to worry about. You want young players to just focus on playing football, not, oh man, all right, is that guy good enough? Or what the fans thinking of me? What the coach is looking at me right now? Man, that really wasn't my fault. That was this guy's fault. It's just, you don't want them to have to worry about that type of stuff.
Any more on how you change your opinion?
Not yet. He's next. I keep going back and watching him. It's like, I see some of the stuff that makes him exciting, but then I still see some of the stuff that limits him. And like I said, for the Baker comparison, it's a gift and a curse, because Baker is good, but we also know Baker isn't franchise quarterback. You know what I mean? In the sense of, you don't want to overpay him and you feel like he's a force multiplier. I just don't feel like, that's a good situation to be in. So when I'm thinking of Sam and I'm thinking, man, if that's his ceiling, could one of these other prospects have a potentially higher ceiling? When we talk about Malik, when you talk about that dual ability, it's like, man, I just think his ceiling is higher, because I think that Malik can throw with a Sam, but he also can run way better than Sam as well. So it's like, man, why would I settle for Sam Howell if I could get a Malik Willis? And that's kind of like how I have been going back and forth with those guys. But I've also seen some mocks where, man, they'll have some of these quarterbacks going early, and you're like, dude, by the time they get to us, it's like, well, that guy.
Saw one that had Malik Willis at 6.
I've seen
another one that I've seen him at 10. Out of the first round.
I think I saw Malik going to the Washington Commanders in one draft. I think it was like 11. At 11. Yeah. Then they had Kenny Pickett going to the Saints. They had us getting it wasn't Desmond.
Was it Corral?
It might have been Corral. It was either Corral or was the Howell one. I think I might have seen the same one you saw, man. Yeah, but I've seen like a couple of different ones.
I think there was one that has taken Howell. Well, that's the ESPN one. They have us taking Howell at 20, which...
Yeah, I was like, yo, this is crazy, man.
I pray to God that doesn't happen.
Yeah, man.
I'd be losing my shit. Then Munchak watch, officially.
Yeah. With Chris Morgan officially signing, we said there's Denver, I believe it was, right? Yeah, going to Denver. Yeah, it was Denver. Yeah, was it Denver or Chicago? I'm drawing a blank on.
I think he went to Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Chris Morgan went to Denver, which is take your job, come back in. All right, so we could do a job swap thing. Chris Morgan's taking Munchak's job in Denver. Munchak can take Chris Morgan's job here in Pittsburgh, because with the reports that Chris Morgan is going to be coaching out there in Denver, obviously now that means that Mike Munchak will definitely not be retained in Denver. So yeah, he's available. He's out there. I think we talked about this the other day when we said we just got to see for him, is it still family, or are you trying to stay employed? Because
Bears.
That's what it was. Okay, good call. Bears. Yep, good call. Bears. But I know right now it still wasn't confirmed that that Hackett was bringing Munchak back, and they said that Hackett was definitely going to be, open to potentially bringing in one of his own guys. So, yeah, with that, man, if Munch is available and he wants to come back, yeah, you definitely go get him now, because you don't have a Chris Morgan in place, blocking that from occurring now. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Definitely. Well, we're all caught up on the chats.
All right.
You want to go to the next topic?
Yes, indeed. Next topic is the who should you re-sign game. Let's go, because obviously, we've had a ton of other topics coming up over the past week and a half that we haven't even had a chance to get back to, our unrestricted free agent series. So with that being said, today, two guys we're going to talk about, BJ Finney and Miles Killebrew. Very interesting in both of these guys. We'll start with Miles Killebrew first, because he's a special teamer. Shout out to the special teams guys in the building. But signed here for what, 1.125 mil a year ago. So it's not a cheap special teams contract, but it's still not the Derek Watt contract either, where you're getting paid multiple millions. But I like the productivity from him. He had 2 block punts last year, man, that really helped us in both of those games. You think about the block at the Bills game to start the season out. We don't win that game without that block. Then he has the block versus the Chargers to get the offense back out there in the short field. I think in that time in the game, we took the lead off of that drive, or we tied it up, if I remember correctly.
We got it within a score.
Yeah, okay, so we got it within a score. So he's had really significant plays in that vein. So I guess for me, when I think of Miles, I'm trying to think of like my pros and my cons with him. I said, man, the productivity jumps off the screen from a special teams element. Anytime you're getting blocks, that's huge. When I think of the contract, like I said, he's still on the cheaper side at the 1.125 element of it. So I do like that. I guess if I had to have a negative about him, though, well, actually, before I get to my negatives, we'll stick with the positives. What are your thoughts on Miles, though, man? Any positives you have with him?
Oh, I'm with you. 2 game-breaking, game-changing plays in the Bills one. You're right. We don't come away with that win. And then in the Chargers game, it got us back in that one to eventually take the lead, and the defense let us down with that last drive. But, I mean, we don't have that special teams, like ace in the hole, that special teams go-to captain type after we didn't re-sign Jordan Dangerfield. And it feels like, to me, Killabro has taken on that role for us.
Yeah.
So I don't really see any negatives to re-signing him. I'm all for it. I'm with you. The contract's going to be cheap. He's a special teams guy, and as much as me and probably a lot of fans write off special teams, I'm starting to come around to it a little bit. You've been trying to teach me up. And I see the impact. We saw it in 2 games this year.
Too, man.
We saw it in multiple games, not even just with Killabro, but also like the Joe Hayden block that was called back. Boswell being clutch as hell. We're seeing the ups and the downs of Presley Harvin and how special teams can affect things.
Yeah, and even around the league.
I guess I didn't realize it as much whenever I was younger growing up. I don't know why. I just didn't. Well, here's the other thing, though. Our defense was always amazing. So, a lot of this stuff really didn't matter. Jeff Reed was always a good kicker. So, yeah, maybe that's why I didn't really care about it as much. Now we just got like a volatile situation on both offense and defense, all these changing parts. We need something that's going to be more of a staple for us. And with Boswell, now we sign guys like this to improve our punt coverage, kicking coverage, whatever it is. We need that.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. That's the thing. You hit on it, man. In the older times, man, when you were just so dominant, right? It was just gross in terms of how you could shut teams out, what the Steelers defense could do, or even times what the offense could do. Sometimes special teams becomes less of a factor. But as the talent around the league continues to get improved, and as we see how these offenses have improved as well, you're not shutting out teams anymore. And with that, it's like, man, the margin of error becomes tighter because of how explosive the rules are for offensive players and stuff. So it's like, man, how do you bridge that gap? How do you still stay competitive? Field position, that becomes that much more of an issue. If you can steal a possession, whether you're getting a block punt or even being able to flip the field on a big return, those things we've seen not just in Pittsburgh, but even in the NFL postseason. How many games have been impacted by special teams, whether it's missed field goals, whether it's blocked special teams plays, whether it's returns for touchdowns or big field goal returns. Absolutely, man.
Beat the
Absolutely. And for me, when I see that, it continues to remind me of that. Now, when I think of Miles, if I had a negative for him, the only things that I could think of, I was like, really no upside on defense, right? He's not a guy that you are going to put out there and expect to have any type of productive. I know they had him. He initially came over as a safety. Then they classified him as a linebacker. So I don't really feel like he's going to give us anything there. My other concern, and this could just be my thinking, not his, was just that since he isn't homegrown, he came over through free agency. He had 2 blocks this season. Blocks in special teams are huge in terms of dollars. Blocks are kind of like touchdowns. They're kind of like sacks. Could he be looking to flip this and get a bigger payday somewhere else on the open market? That was the part for me that I was like, could potentially be
blame him for
a
that.
con, right? Because I'm like, if I'm Miles, I don't have any ties here. I came over on a 1-year deal through free agency, and I did what I needed to do. I got me, 2 blocks, made some big plays on special teams. So it's like, yeah, my market, when I put that tape out there now, yeah, I might be able to increase it. Maybe I double it from 1 mil to 2 mil. So those are some of the things that I was like, I could see potentially being an issue. But outside of that, man, I definitely think that he's a guy that I know I would want back.
2 mil, bring him back.
I'm cool with that, man. I'm cool with that. I don't want it to balloon to like where Derek Watt type of money is though, if that makes sense. Because Derek I think he's averaging 2.5, almost 3. I don't want it to get to that range because I don't feel like he's as productive as those guys in that class. Like when I think of that type of money, I think of how Rosie Nix was. I think of Tyler Matakavich. I think of those guys, right? And I'm like, yeah, Miles, his productivity, it jumped off the screen, but I just feel like those guys, they still give me a lot more in terms of like the play in and play out tackles, and obviously some of those guys being able to affect the offense and defense element of the game as well. That's why I like, giving them a little bit more words with Miles. I don't think he gives me that part as well.
No, yeah, because whenever he was in on defense, I'm like, why the hell is Killabro in right now? I don't want him in. I really don't want him in. And I don't think did he make one play on defense this year? Maybe one. I don't want to.
He might have had. Yeah.
Him. He might have had one play.
He might have had a player too, man. He might have had a player
tackle for loss, something like that.
He might have had something, man.
Yeah, I think he's a no-brainer.
Hey, talking about. Well, why you had to say he might have had a little play or something? Yo, that's so foul. He
might have.
He might have made a little play. He had a little something. He did a little something.
I was gonna say something about Tuska, but you know what? He had a big sack or two.
He did. He definitely did.
What was it? The Browns game? Yeah,
that was big, man. Heck yeah. Cause shoot, that's what we were thinking that TJ was about to break the record, and we was like, no, we don't want Tuska getting the sack. We need TJ getting the sack, and TJ came right back in like the next play. Heck yeah.
Yeah. How many did he have in that? What did he have? Like 3 or 4 in that game?
I think he ended up with 4 because the one where I guess Baker slid, and he was like the closest guy over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on Killabro. I'm for bringing him back. I don't really see that much of a downside outside of the contract maybe getting a little too high.
That's the big thing, right?
But yeah, you even brought up his limitedness.
Yeah.
In terms of playing defense, that's not really his thing. He's just going to be more of a special teamer. But I think we could use that. That's my point. I don't really look as that much of a downside.
Gotcha. Because to me, I just thought of like Darius Hayward-Bay. He was another example, right? We were paying him.
Yeah.
He was getting good money for special teams, but he also could give you offense, right? He was going to give you the deep threat a little bit or the little gadget plays. When I thought of Rosie Nix, he was going to also be a fullback, and we saw the impact that he had as a fullback. Derek Watt, even though we don't utilize Derek Watt, he still is supposed to be able to give you some, blocking ability and stuff like that out the backfield. We just, like I said, haven't really utilized him here like that, but his tape shows that he has been more than capable of doing that. And even Dangerfield to an extent, he was a part of like some of the goal line packages, the multiple safety packages that we would use as well. So when I think of that, I'm just like, all right, if you're not giving me that much in terms of the full robustness, the full, all right, I have some type of 10 play package on defense. I don't want to pay those type of special teamers more than 2 mil. Even Robert Golden was another example. Remember when we paid him, he was a special teams captain here, but he also would come in and play as that third safety. When we went to our sub package ball. So it's like, if you're giving me special teams plus something else, we can talk more 2+ mil. But when you're only giving me just special teams, I don't really want to do more than that money right there, because I think you could just get better players or more impactful depth players with that money going elsewhere.
Unless you keep having 2 blocks a year.
Very true. 2 blocks a year.
You do 2 blocks a year. Well, I can even bump that up to 3.
Hey, no question. Now you be acting like you're what's the cat up in New England? Dagon Matthew Slater. When you start talking that, because Slater has made a career, multiple millions of dollars per year doing that type of stuff, whether it's blocks, whether it's forcing fair catches, tons of tackles. Like, if you're doing that, absolutely. But we got to see, because 2 blocks a year, that's a tough pace to stay on. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We will definitely see, man.
He does speak highly of Danny Smith, so maybe they see something in each other's.
Shout out to Danny,
Killabrew,
man.
it's Danny Smith's system, and Danny Smith, he maybe sees the player in Killabrew that he needs.
I think that they both share liking the same bubblegum personally. I think that's what it is. I don't think it's that deep, man. You try to make it all like, oh, man, they like the scheme and the player. Nah, they just like to chew that nasty, no-flavor gum with big wads of it. Yep.
He goes no flavor.
Man, well, the gum, because I've chewed that gum. They have flavors, but the flavor only lasts for like 2 chews. It's like,
what is it?
It's not even Bubblicious. I don't remember the name of it, man. It's not like a knockoff, but it's not like the nice high end either. But it's flavored. But some of them joints be hard though, bro. You like, dude, I almost got a cavity, bro.
Did you see the video on Sean Payton?
No, what happened with that?
Oh man, he was F-bombing everyone on the staff because he was trying to get juicy fruit. It was hilarious. I gotta send it to you. It's so funny.
Seriously, I need juicy fruit,
this dude
man.
Give me some gum. Make sure it's effing juicy fruit.
Oh,
he gave me like mint shit last time.
Yeah, it was hilarious. That is funny, man.
It's like multiple times he's said this throughout games. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I can see it though, man.
He wants juicy fruit.
Yeah, it's got to be a certain type, man. People are particular. On game day too, man. You want what you want on game day. Yeah. On game day, if you come in, hey, bro, I don't drink that on game day. I only drink this. You know that. Don't play. Yeah, it's real. It gets real like that, bro.
BJ Finney?
Yeah, man. So BJ Finney, he's the next guy. Now, for me with BJ, it's a little bit more mixed bag because with BJ, right? When I think of just the pros of BJ Finney we're talking about here. Number 1, he's cheap in terms of he's not going to cost a ton of money. Number 2, he's position flexible. Starts at center, he can start at both guard spots. He's a good player, just not a great player. He's a veteran player. I like that part as well. So the moment's not too big, experience. He's stepped in before, like he's accustomed to this situation as well. Also like the fact that he's homegrown. We gave him his first opportunity. He stayed here for the first couple of years. Obviously left last year to try to get paid in free agency, but he came right back. So for me, I like the homegrown part, but more importantly, he's fundamentally sound. And that part to me, I don't like to overlook it because not every player at this level is fundamentally sound. And that's, one of those things that can keep your floor being good enough. You know what I mean? Fundamentals won't necessarily make you a great player all the time, but it will keep you from being a bad player as one of the alternatives as well. So I do like that about BJ. But for you, man, what are your positives on BJ before we get to some of the negatives about him?
Oh, everything you said. Can just step into a position, get us through a game. Contract's going to be cheap. He's just the guy that you could have on your roster, though. So we want to do that before cons, because I think that's basically it. I mean, he's just a solid player for us, but the cons are not really that much upside in the play.
Yeah, so for me, when I think of the cons with him, he has a low ceiling. He definitely does. He is who he is. He's not going to grow past this where you want him to be a 17-game starter. I don't think that's going to ever be it for him. I think that if he has to be the starter for 17 games, if guys around him are talented, he'll be fine. But the longer he's out there in those avenues with less talent around him, he would definitely be a guy that would struggle.
Our offensive line.
Yeah. I also think that he's limited athletically in comparison to a guy like Kendrick Green or even to a guy like Dotson, right? When we talk about some of these guys and their ability to pull, get downfield, BJ doesn't necessarily give you that. Like I said, he's limited there. What he does improve or what he does give you is the power element because he has a lot more size than a guy like Kendrick Green. Okay. But the last con that I had, and this has actually been going on for a couple of years now, he has back issues. This past season,
that's what took him out this year.
Yeah, this past season he was on IR and he was limited a lot throughout the season because of his back injury. And I even know when I played my last year there in 17, he was still dealing. Well, that was like the onset the onset of some of the back issues and stuff like that, man. So it definitely looks like it's continuing to linger and flare back up. And you know how I've told you multiple times, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to stay away from Mitchell Schwartz last free agency. I don't like linemen with back issues because with the weight that they carry, the rigors of the position, it's just hard for those guys to play through back injuries. Like you can play through an arm, you can play through an ankle, but knee, back, neck, it's just hard to tough it out. And with BJ is tough as nails. Love BJ, that's my guy. But for me, the back issues are what are making me kind of hesitate a little bit with him and ask myself, because he is a veteran. This will be his 7th year in the league now. His minimum is going to cost more than me drafting an offensive lineman or me signing an offensive lineman in free agency. I mean, not in free agency, but as an undrafted free agent. He's going to cost more than that. So that's why I'm asking myself, do I think I can find another BJ Finney for cheap without the back issue? If I think that I can, then I probably would go that route, or I'd have to strongly assess where he's at back wise, because this has happened, like I said, on multiple occasions now. And as you see, once it flares up, it's not a 1 week issue. It's a multiple week issue. And it just, think about if he was available late in the year where Kendrick Green was struggling. It's like, man, you could put him out there. But with the back injury, you don't have that sub. You don't have that option. So you have to continue to put Kendrick Green out there. And those are some of the things I think of. Even when we had guards go down, it's like, man, JC Hassanauer, it's like, man, we had to play him at guard at times. And it's like, yo, what if we could put him at center? But we couldn't do that when a guy like BJ is on the sideline injured because of his back. Those are some of the things that, like I said, it just makes me a little bit more hesitant about bringing him back right now.
Not only that, you talk about finding other guys.
Yeah.
We kind of did last year in LeGlue, because that's when BJ Finney went down in that Ravens game, and LeGlue came in and was kind of nice. So if you look at our roster right now, well, is he some type of free agent?
Yeah, well, he signed one of those 1-year deals, so I gotta check. I'm gonna
go. That was last year.
Yeah, I'll go and look to see if he would be unrestricted or restricted. I believe he's
either way. You bring him back.
Yeah, I believe he's a restricted guy though, because I want to say he's been released a couple of times beforehand, so he'll definitely be restricted. He might even be exclusive rights free agent, and that's the thing I think with him. If he's exclusive rights, it doesn't even matter because he can't play anywhere except Pittsburgh. I think that's what he is because of how he wasn't drafted and he's been released. If you're not drafted and you've been cut from any organization, whenever a team signs you and that contract plays out, that initial deal plays out, you automatically go into exclusive rights free agency where you're not a free agent unless the team decides that they don't want you. But if the team typically decides they don't want you, probably weren't even good enough to warrant money from another organization. So with John, he should, bringing him back won't be an issue at all.
You have him on the roster, left guard. Dotson, left guard, right guard. Yeah. Center, Hassanauer, Kendrick Green. So where does Finney really fit? Because if you have Dotson, LeGlue, I don't know if LeGlue's necessarily a backup. We still have to adjust the right guard. Do we bring back Turner or something? But, like, we're not re-signing Finney to be the starting right guard.
Not at all.
And if we're talking about depth, why not just bring in a rookie then?
Yeah.
That's what I'm starting to think.
Yeah, for me, if he didn't have the back issue, I say you keep BJ. I think you roll with him because of the depth, the experience, the fundamental, right? And the fundamentals and stuff like that. But because the back injury has proven that it's not a one-off, it wasn't a 1-year thing, it wasn't a 3-week thing. This has proven that, man, it's been cost him multiple seasons now. For me, I do feel like, yeah, man, I would probably go the alternative of trying to find an undrafted free agent, man. Somebody like that, yeah. But the thing is, man, BJ was highly decorated coming out of college too, though. It's just like I said, the injuries part, man. The back, your best ability is your availability, and for him not being available is hurting him in this avenue right here, you know.
The problem was too when he was available was that Bengals game where we got shellacked 41-10. He started that game.
It's not a good look, bro.
I don't want to put that all on Finney. I don't want to say that was the Finney game.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't.
There was that.
It definitely was. But you need
there
players
was that,
like
and
him.
When he
though,
went
man.
out in the Ravens game, though, we could say our line improved with LeGlue being in there. That doesn't help his case.
Yeah. So like I say, he definitely.
Yeah. So this isn't one I'm like all that much for. Even though these are we're talking about lower level guys in Killabro, and even if we bring up Leglue, I'm way more for bringing back Leglue, or even someone like Haig.
Yeah, I can definitely see that then, man.
Because a lot of what you talked about, the availability, and when they were in, it was like, okay,
yeah, well, you could see it.
We could get the spot start with them.
Absolutely, you can see that as long as you can see some type of uptick, and you say, okay, compare and contrast contracts, who's going to be cheaper? BJ at this stage is going to cost more. He's even had a nice contract last year in free agency. I think he got, was it 1 or 2 mil? Or no, it was a 1 or 2 year deal for like, I think it was like $5 million, something along those lines, to go out to Seattle. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like he's already been introduced to a higher pay scale than any of these guys we're talking about in terms of Leglue and in terms of Haig and stuff like that. So yeah, if we're playing the numbers game as well, it also makes sense to look in other directions, because it's like, why pay more for a guy that is going to be dealing with the back injury as well?
Yeah. All right, so we're on the same page with that.
Absolutely, man.
I'm not seeing any super chats right now.
Yeah, so we're good right now. We're good.
Am I wrong?
No, we're good right now. We're good. Heck yeah, we're good, man. All right. I like it. And so far, so good too, man. I mean, everything is rolling smooth in our new little situation here, you know, a little virtual action. So yeah.
It is cool.
Yes, indeed. Bro, y'all are wild in that comment section. Quan, whoa. All right. So let's go. Next topic. This should be the final one for today, too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, man. Heck yeah. So want to talk about another QB prospect here, man. Bailey Zappe. So he is the was it the 5th or 6th quarterback that is at the Senior Bowl as well, man, with the crew. Yeah, because he's the last of the big group except Matt Corral, because obviously he was the one who could not be down there just based on because he got hurt in the bowl game. And then who was the younger dude? Oh my goodness. Man, it was somebody else.
Is someone supposed to be
for the Senior Bowl? No, it's for the Senior Bowl. They are on the Senior Bowl?
Or supposed to be?
No. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on it, because I know with Matt, he was hurt. It might be Matt though, anyways, because he's not a senior, so he couldn't be playing in the game. It might have been him that I was thinking about. Alrighty. But anywho,
Zappe is flying up the charts a little bit. You're getting a lot of the Malik Willis buzz, but I'm also seeing Zappe's name being thrown out there too. People were saying he won yesterday's Senior Bowl.
Yeah, man. Bailey Zappe has definitely been a guy that has been making headways the same way people have been talking about Malik Willis jetting up the quarterback stock. Bailey Zappe is another guy, record-setting quarterback at Western Kentucky. Highly productive season as a passer, definitely. When I think of some of the positives that I like about Bailey just from watching him on tape, I love his ball placement. I think that, man, he throws a nice ball in terms of the accuracy, right? Understanding the hip of where you need to put it and stuff like that. I also think that his deep ball, I like the accuracy on that as well. I think it's a pretty pass, right? I also think that he has really nice mechanics. You watch his footwork, very consistent, very different from what I talked about with Malik Willis. Remember with Malik, I said at times he gets himself in trouble because his drops aren't as consistent. He doesn't stay in the pocket or centered in the pocket or getting his feet pointing in the direction in which he's trying to throw the ball. But because he's such a great athlete, he can overcome it at times. I feel like with Bailey is super fundamental with his footwork. You watch him on his dropbacks, it's consistent. You watch him when he's rolling out, it's consistent. You watch him how he maneuvers and climbs in the pocket, it's consistent. And I think that it makes him just be less erratic as a passer, whereas with Malik at times he can have some wild misses. And also think that with Bailey, he anticipates throws well and he has a nice touch on the pass as well, man. Those are some of the things that I really do like about Bailey, just from what I've watched on him, some of these games, some of the practices from the Senior Bowl as well. Like, I definitely think that, he has a lot of upside in that vein right there.
Sounds like the first overall pick.
Now, see, I'm not going to go there because with him, he also has some negatives, right? Some of the negatives is this: not a ton of D1 experience. He was a Division II player for, his whole career until this last season where he went to Western Kentucky.
Oh, come on, you got to stick up for those guys.
No. I stick up for FCS. I don't stick up for Division II. It's different. There's levels to this. I'm a 1A snob all of a sudden. Okay, now that my team is big time, we don't. Wait,
what are you in? Is it what conference?
We're conference. We're in the Sun Belt. Yeah, we're in the Sun Belt.
Sun Belt.
Yeah, so we'll be playing like App State. No, that's East. That's lower, like the Carolina. So Coastal Carolina, App State.
Okay.
Yeah, those type of schools and stuff like that, man. But
for some reason I thought it was Conference USA.
No. So
Sun Belt. Okay.
Yeah, so with that though, in the sense of just not a lot of D1 experience, the reason why I brought that up is because he transferred to the Western Kentucky school, right? From an even smaller program. And Western Kentucky isn't a powerhouse in itself. So when you're talking about the sample size, when you're evaluating him, I'm watching tape of him versus was it Michigan State? But then at the same time, I'm watching tape of him versus University of Tennessee Martin. And it's like, I don't have 2 or 3 year sample sizes of him facing that one Michigan State team every year. I don't got a lot of that out there. I don't have a lot of him versus App State. I got a lot of, less level competition where it's just so gory at times because, he can sling that rock. He can pepper these guys up. Yeah. So it's like,
almost 6,000 yards.
Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't help me when I'm watching him play University of Tennessee Martin and I'm looking at, just the influx of talent. It's just like, this is like a joke watching this tape. But the thing that I do, another thing that makes me a little bit more hesitant on him is obviously he's not the most mobile. He can move, he can run, but to me, I'm like, I don't feel like he's any more athletic than a Mason or a Haskins. I think he's right in that same ballpark. You know what I mean? So that to me, it doesn't make me feel good about him even more so. Also, he played in the air raid where it's not a pro style offense. It's a ton of, volume passing, right? You see a lot of screens, a lot of bubbles, a lot of now passes. Like that's a lot of his throws as well. So I think about that. And then he's also a shorter quarterback. 6 foot, I think he measured it 6 foot even down there at the combine. At the Senior Bowl. So when we talk about not being the tallest guy, can you overcome it? Yes, but we understand the challenges with that. And I just don't think that he has the crazy strong arm. Like when we talk about some of these other quarterback prospects in this year's class, it's like you see when that ball comes out their hand, it's popping out that thing. It's live. Whereas with him, I don't necessarily feel that his arm has, I think it's still a good arm. It's NFL, it's a pro arm. Don't get it twisted, but it's just not overly lively where it's just bing, bing. Like when you watch some of the throws from Malik, you watch some of the throws from like a Carson Strong. It's like, man, like what is this dude shooting that ball over there? Like this is nuts. Like I don't feel like Bailey's ball has that type of pop on it.
My take, Duck Hodges on drugs, dude. He looks exactly like Duck Hodges back. I'm telling you, man. He's just got a better arm. Because both quarterbacks.
Oh my God, yo, Deke, bro. I was thinking that. Oh my goodness, yo, you on the money with that one. That's a perfect call, bro.
I swear, bro, he looked exactly like him. I just think he's got a better arm.
Like he's got
a stronger arm.
A better version of Duck, yes. And like I said,
better footwork, whatever the hell it is. But
the footwork, the footwork, yes. The arm, yes. But yeah, he reminds me of that. I just, yes, dude, spot on, man, spot on. And like I said, I don't like to bring that comparison up because obviously people will think of Duck and they just think of when it got bad, right? And they're like, well, no, he's limited. I don't want that type of guy. But in all actuality, if you have a Duck with a stronger arm, with, just a little bit better version of his intangibles, it's like, man, no, Duck could do some good things. To me, I just don't know with Bailey's arm, can you survive at this level not having the crazy strong arm? Because if you don't, your accuracy just has to be pinpoint. It has to be on. We've seen guys do that, and we've seen guys have success and have great careers, win Super Bowls like that. But it is a challenge. That's the only thing. So with Bailey, it's like I like him, but I'm just a little bit more leery of him because he does have some things that could potentially hold him back. Whereas when we talk some of these other guys, it's like, well, he doesn't have this, but he can get away with this right here because he's just, whether he's crazy athletic or he has crazy size or just a cannon of an arm, we can make that part work. With Bailey, we just don't have that defining characteristic for him just yet.
Yeah, and one of the main reasons I bring up the Duck comparison is the feel, the touch on his passes, because that was the one thing I couldn't pinpoint it whenever you watch Duck versus Mason. I was always just like, what is it? There's something Duck. We kept saying it factor. I was like, no, it factor might be a little bit too far for Duck. I don't know if we should be saying he has it, but he's got a feel. Someone finally said, I think what you're trying to say is Duck has a good feel for the game. And he did until he didn't. But you could see with Bailey Zappe.
Until he didn't.
Yeah, you can see with him. He has a good feel, good touch on the pass, stronger arm than Duck, about the same size. They literally look
they look
almost
identical.
the exact same.
If you put him in a Steelers 6 jersey that said Hodges on the back, you would not know. You would be like, man, Duck is having a good day today. Like, because it just looks like his arm is better. It's a better version of Duck. You're absolutely right, though. Yeah, they're like the way they maneuver in the pocket, they look the same, man. Yeah.
One of the things I will say I liked about him from what I've seen is the fearlessness too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much of that is the air raid system, but he fit it because he's willing to take his chances and put the balls in tight spots. And you talked about his accuracy. He was able to do it. Dude, you look at these stats, like even against Michigan State.
Bro,
now, I don't know what the game flow. I don't know how the game flow was, but 488 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then against Indiana, same thing, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns.
The thing that I've noticed with Bailey, and it's something that I actually like about him, he has had adversity early on in games.
That's what we said about Duck, though, too. Duck's fearless.
Yeah, like, but when I watch Bailey, it's like Bailey, like even that University of Tennessee Martin tape that I was watching, it's like he threw a pick like on the first drive. They were down 7-zip. He throws a pick, just taking a shot downfield. But then after that, it's like, okay, another bad play here, another bad play, and then he just clicks, and it's like, oh, once it got rolling, it was a wrap. And when I watch him more, I feel like that happens with him a good amount. It's like it starts out a little rocky, a little slow because of the gunslinger, that risk taker mentality. But then once he figures that team out or that defense, or he gets just comfortable, man, it looks at times like a surgeon out there because he is so precise in how he spreads the ball around, whether you're talking middle of the field, outside the numbers. Also understanding what the defense gives him. He doesn't force it all the time. He will take the check down. He will take the short underneath route. He's not only enamored with looking for the deep throw. So I do like that element as well with him, man.
The one thing that you mentioned as a con is the air raid system.
Yeah.
Maybe it's less of a con as it would have been like 10, 15 years ago, just because of how the NFL is evolving. Because you have Mahomes coming out of like Texas Tech having success.
Correct.
Literally Kingsbury drafting specifically Calibre. It's not an air raid system, but a college type of system.
Yeah, well, I guess the
coaches are moving towards that. It's still not fully there, but I don't think it's as much of a bad thing as it was maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Well, the reason why, and I do agree with that, but the two guys that you named, we don't currently have in terms of the coaches. We have Matt Canada.
Oh, yeah, if we're talking specifically us, 100% right.
And that's
I was thinking more like if a McVay drafts him or,
heck no. Listen, even if he was going to New Orleans, it's not a negative. Even if, you know what I mean? It's like, no, man, if you're with the right coach, dude, absolutely, he'll be fine. But with our coaching staff, especially our offensive coaching staff, and that's why with Malik, I brought up Mike Sullivan because I said, hey, Sully is who would be developing him in terms of his footwork, in terms of his mechanics. And if I feel like the biggest issue with Malik is mechanics, I'm all for him being here because I've already seen where Mike Sullivan has developed and improved Dwayne Haskins' mechanics. So when I think of Bailey, I'm like, Bailey's issue isn't mechanics. I think his mechanics are great. Like, I love his mechanics when I'm watching him on tape because it's super consistent. It's the same over and over and over. Release motion the same. The way he drops back in the pocket is the same. The way he goes through his progression is the same. Like, I love all of that. But it's like, man, if I'm going to need a person that can architect an offense for him, that can custom fit something for him, well, I personally haven't seen that from Canada just yet because he couldn't custom fit it for Ben. And if you couldn't custom fit it for Ben, why do I think you're going to be able to custom fit it for Bailey Zappe? And that's, for me, why I say the air raid system, I think, hurts him in this avenue because we're not running that offense here. And if we're not running that offense, I got to think that you can be a fit in Matt Canada's offense. And based on what we know about Matt Canada's offense, you're technically not a fit for that. So, yeah.
Why are we giving Canada this much benefit of the doubt? We're trying to draft players and bring in players to tailor to him.
Not us.
If it lands us Malik Willis, I'm fine with that, though.
Deke, we're not giving him the benefit of the doubt, Deke. the organization gave them the benefit of the doubt. When they went out there and said, he's coming back, we like what we have. Oh, we had red paint. We had to paint the barn red. The organization gave Matt Canada this. We are just following what they are saying. We don't dictate. We don't tell them how they should not operate. It's like, no, y'all made this, so now we have to follow what y'all are telling us to do. So you're telling us that, hey, guys like Malik Willis, we should put a premium on them. Whereas guys like Bailey Zappe, we shouldn't put a premium on them because we have Bailey Zappe style guys in-house. Not to the same extent in terms of Mason and Haskins, but less mobile, more pocket passer type quarterbacks. We already have that, and that's part of the complaint. So that's the part for me where I'm just like, man, we have to take that into context now.
And I just wonder how long Canada's going to be around.
Yeah. Right.
Like if we draft Malik Willis, that's a long-term thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a 4 or 5 year project.
Mariota on a 1-year deal, that's not as much. That's, if Mariota starts, we got Canada. We got it tailored towards you now, Canada.
Yeah.
And we don't have success, then you could just kind of start new next year.
Yeah.
But if we draft Malik Willis, that's more long-term, I would think.
But
we could bring in a guy for Malik Willis.
Well, I was going to say, I could easily see a scenario, though. What you just said, I could see a scenario, though, where you bring in a Mariota, you bring in a Brissett, you bring in one of these, a Tyrod Taylor type, right? Bridge quarterback for a year. And this will give you a chance to evaluate Matt Canada, but you still draft whatever quarterback you wanted to draft this year, whether it's Malik Willis, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, whoever you want to, whatever quarterback it was, you can still take that guy and have him developing behind Brissett, behind one of these veteran guys, and you're still evaluating Matt Canada to see, hey, can you tailor an offense? Can your offense be productive? And with that, it still doesn't kill you if at the second half of the year you start to play the rookie quarterback. And then even during the offseason, you say, you know what, we're going to get rid of Canada. We're going to bring in a coordinator that is tailor-made for a Malik, for whatever quarterback we have in place, and then we go that route. Like, I think that I definitely could see a scenario where that works, where you can still have the best of all worlds right there in terms of evaluating Canada, having your quarterback for the future, but at the same time having a veteran quarterback early on while you develop your younger guy. Like, I'm all for that scenario as well. And I think with the class being what it is, and the free agency quarterbacks being who they are financially, you should be able to make this work, especially with the Steelers' salary cap situation.
We just don't know if the Steelers are going to bring in the high-end coordinator. If we fire Canada,
right,
the high-end guy, the QB whisperer.
No. You know what they're going to do? They're going to promote Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan will become the offensive
That's what we would think.
You're right, bro. You're right.
Who knows? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. We brought in Haley,
You're right.
7 years ago, or whatever the hell that was.
Man, it sounds so much longer. God. All right.
Was it 7?
Well,
2014, 2013, whenever
that was when I got here. So 14, yeah.
So even longer ago.
Yeah.
He's been on the team 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever that was.
Man.
What do you think of Zappe then as a flyer? What would he be, 3rd or 4th round, you think?
Yeah, I definitely could see a middle round grade on him.
Not for us though. We just went over it. It probably doesn't make sense for us.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like like I said, it still could make sense, but you would have to
just to have him waiting in the wings.
Right. You would have to have him waiting in the wings. That would be the approach with him. Like I said, I don't mind him as a flyer though, because I do think that, man, you can see why people are excited about him. You can see why people bring up Drew Brees, why people bring up even Duck, because who do we say Duck looked like? Duck was like a poor man's Drew Brees. It was like, if he can develop, he could do that. But that's like, anytime you see short, undersized quarterbacks that have great accuracy, but certain things are limited in terms of arm strength, that's the guy that everybody compares him to. So it's like, I understand it and I can see it, but at the same time, I just the Matt Canada thing is my biggest hang up. And like I said, it's frustrating because why should that be? Because we personally don't feel like he's done enough to warrant that type of pull, but that's what the organization is doing right now, man.
And that happened before last season even started.
All right,
man. That's what irritates me, because I'm backing my man 7.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have given Canada that much pull over Hall of Fame quarterback, the best franchise QB.
Talk about
it.
Talk your
hijacking.
Talk. Talk your talk, Deke. Talk your talk, Deke. Talk your talk.
Still not over that.
I can dig it though, man. I can dig it. But yeah, man, Bailey is definitely somebody that's interesting, man. We're gonna keep looking into more of these prospects. Like I said, man, going forward with these shows. For those that weren't on the early portion of this thing, man, we were saying that I have been receiving your emails. I know Farron Bradford was one of them as well. I think 4 or 5 people from last show sent emails of different prospects they want us to research and talk about on the shows and stuff like that. So continue to do that. We will definitely continue to introduce and talk about more of these prospects throughout these shows coming up, man. Starting next week, man, we'll definitely be talking about a lot of these prospects. So the easiest way to get those names to me, so I know which people y'all want us to be looking at or even talking about, just send an email to moatswinners@gmail.com. Just Moats, my name, winners. Yeah, winners at gmail.com. All right, it's that simple. Send your prospects in there, or even questions that you have, or even topics that you potentially want discussed that aren't draft related, man. Just put that in there. It's the easiest way to communicate and stuff like that, man. But yeah, we'll definitely keep this thing going.
Craig Ellis, final super chat.
All right, what we got? Let's see it.
This is the biggest theme. Who do you guys want to see starting at QB next year? We definitely need to bring someone in. After free agency. I'm not about the next man up with this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, man,
there's a combination of 15 guys. I'm on the Malik Willis hype train, so I'm not opposed to drafting him right now.
Yeah.
Haskins, I'm good with. Mariota, Winston, I'm good with.
Yeah. I like all those names. I think for me, my front runner as I stand today, February 4th, because like I said, the more I continue to watch tape, the more I continue to evaluate these guys.
You got to mark
it can easily change.
Something.
Absolutely. So right now, I'm leaning more Malik. The more I've watched him on tape, I just continue to like his game a lot. I think the athletic ability jumps off the tape. The arm strength and accuracy jumps off the tape. The pros versus cons. I think that the pros that he have, you can't coach that. And I think the cons that he have, you can fix those things. And we already have a guy in-house who has displayed that ability to improve some of those areas. So for me, man, I'm definitely right now leaning more Malik Willis. But like I said, I'll continue to watch more tape on those quarterbacks and some of these other prospects as we continue to talk about them to just see, if that changes. Carson Strong, like I said, he's another guy that's interesting. I want to watch some more of him because of, I ain't watched a lot of Nevada tape this offseason. I mean, this past year, but he has a cannon of an arm and crazy size as well. So he's another guy that we're going to be looking at and talking about a lot more as well, man. So yeah, but it's been good though, bro. It's been good.
Yeah, we appreciate the comment.
Heck yeah, man. Trying to think, man. We have anything else right here?
That's it.
Let's go through. All right.
Someone's saying, bringing up your boy Dobbs, Mind Business saying Josh Dobbs is Malik Willis. He's saying we already got him on the roster.
I don't know if Dobbs is as good of a runner as Malik personally. The passing element, I'd have to look. But I guess the only knock that I would say is this. Dobbs has already been in the league for multiple years, and we just haven't seen that talent develop. Now, granted, we know Ben was here, but we also know that Dobbs was out of the organization. He went to Jacksonville, and he had an opportunity down there, and it didn't materialize into a more defined role. So having Dobbs here is still wouldn't make me not bring in Malik. And also Dobbs is coming off of an injury where he was on IR for the whole year based on the injury that he had in the preseason. That's another thing that just health-wise, what does he look like athletically? Can he still maneuver enough? Can he still do some things, with his legs to make him interesting? But for me, I just don't think he's consistent enough as a passer at this level right now. He was improving, but right now, where he's at is not enough to deter me from bringing in a Malik Willis. So that's my thing with that.
Yeah. I felt like Mason beat him out too whenever we gave him the opportunity in like preseasons and stuff. So I get, because someone brings it up here, like we never really gave him a chance.
No, he definitely.
I felt like he did have his chance to at least beat out Mason.
He did, and that was the year when we moved him, because it was like, all right, you didn't beat out Mason, and we all thought it was clear that Mason did do enough. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it though.
Yeah. They said Dobbs is Geno Smith. I mean, that probably is it. They said Dobbs is Geno Smith. I mean, in the sense of Geno.
Oh, man.
But think about what Geno was this year, right? At times, Geno, he would look like he had moments, but it was never consistent enough. And with Dobbs, it's like you can see some similarities, right? Because Gino is not the greatest athlete. Dobbs is definitely more athletic, but he's not and like overly elite athlete in terms of game breaking ability to just run by you and stuff like that. Like he's still a good athlete, don't get it twisted. But when I think of that, I can see that sentiment. I can see why people would say that in terms of, yeah, you feel good enough with Gino in that bind that, hey, if it's for a game or a quarter, yeah. But when you're talking about how Gino had to start for that elongated time when Russ went down, you don't want that. And that's something that I could easily see with Dobbs right now because he hasn't proved that he can excel for elongated periods of time at that quarterback position. Yeah, I could easily see that, man.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? We getting on with our Friday here?
I'm about to say it looks good. On Friday, we don't work too hard on Friday, baby. That's why we do it in the morning. We like to hit it in the morning, nice and quick, little rollover, rub it up. And after that, man, we get up out.
For this virtual live.
First virtual live too, bro.
Some people are bringing up the COVID Classic. We never did this live, though.
Yeah, we never did. Yeah.
We never did this. This was our first time live, so this was pretty successful, I think.
Yeah, it was dope, man. It was dope. A little foreshadowing, man, because, we got some stuff coming up where we will have to do some more virtual stuff. So it was good to see that, hey, on a Friday where it was low-key, it's light, everything was still smooth.
Weather.
So yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. So with that being said, man, we appreciate every single one of y'all that have been tuned in with us today, man, on this morning. Hope wherever y'all are at, y'all are warm and safe. Definitely stay off the roads if you can and enjoy yourselves. Make sure you get your big boy research in this weekend as well. So shout out to y'all for tuning in. And until next time, baby.
Peace.